Warning. The following episode contains subject matter and scenes that some viewers may find upsetting, disturbing, or unnerving. Please note, viewer discretion is advised at all times. Sit back and enjoy.
Do you think you'll ever be queen?
No, I don't. No.
Why do you think that?
I'd like to be a queen of people's hearts, but I don't see myself being queen of this country. I don't think many people would want me to be queen, actually. When I say many people, I mean the establishment that I'm married into, because they've decided that I'm a non-starter, because I do things differently, because I don't go by a rule book, because I lead from the heart, not the head. And albeit that's got me into trouble in my work, I understand that. But someone's got to go out there and love people and show it. I just don't think I have as many supporters in that environment than I did. They see me as a threat of some kind. And I'm here to do good. I'm not a destructive person. I think every strong woman in history has had to walk down a similar path, and I think it's the strength that causes the confusion and the fear. Why is she strong? Where does she get it from? Where is she taking it? Where is she going to use it? I was a separated wife of the Prince of Wales. I was a problem, full stop. Never happened before. What do we do with her? She won't go quietly. That's the problem. I'll fight till the end.
Diana, Princess of Wales, has in fact been killed in that car accident in Paris just a few hours ago. There had been extreme concern that Diana was very seriously injured when she was taken from the wreckage. She died at 4 a.m. after going into cardiac arrest. That, according to doctors at the hospital in Paris, Diana, Princess of Wales, is dead.
Hello and welcome to a rather regal episode this week. May I introduce by royal appointment the Earl Daniel Lambert, Prince of the Boston Sound.
Welcome.
Maybe some trumpets would be good there, Dan, as well. Dan could do real.
Oh,
and the Duke of York, Prince Ben.
Duke of York. Oh, Ben Drew. Yeah, I'm with you.
Who did you Prince of York.
Like straight away, he's not York, is he?
Duke of York. Duke of York. You didn't ask her right. How are you doing?
Oh yeah, very well. Very good to be back. It feels like forever since we've been here.
It does feel like a very
strange,
long
isn't
time.
it?
You're right. It does feel like a very, very long time indeed. But yes, we are back once again, back with a brand new case. I'm going to put my hands up, Ben, because when we start the series, we do a little list, me and Ben, of what we want to do. Very rarely do we disagree and one gets knocked out of the picks.
Yeah,
essentially.
I don't knock him out. He doesn't knock me out.
When I saw this on your list, I did go, oh.
Okay.
Originally.
Yeah. No.
But I'm going to apologise because after actually delving deep into it, I was like, actually, there's a lot to this.
Yeah.
And,
I surprised myself a little bit.
Because you originally put this as the series ender.
Yeah, this was going to be the finale.
Yeah.
But then I sort of piped into the group chat, I don't think we can end on this. And now
you said, not so good, Al. And then we looked into it. We were both actually, Al, the fish, pretty good. I mean, that's a really niche reference to a Weezer video. But it's actually turned out to be a very interesting case.
Yeah, this is the first time I think we've covered a few different conspiracy theory cases previously, or ones with an element of mystery. This is one where the more different opinions I gather, the more I start to believe them. And yes. I'm trying to formulate my own opinion as I go. I'm nearly there, but this is the first time I think the conspiracy theories have really held water in this case.
A metaphor for it, Ben, if you will.
Sure.
This is a broken calculator of a case. Because it doesn't add up. But also you could say this is a broken abacus of a case.
You could say that.
Because it's a fucking mess when you look at it. Because, yes, you're completely right. I started watching some very when you start watching some documentaries and you're like, okay, these are the conspiracy guys. Not that podcast, but they're just they quote little bits and they're like, okay, interesting, and I'll watch this and see where it goes. But I didn't follow the route they were trying to take me down. But I jumped off maybe a couple stops before that. Yeah. And I thought, this is the bit that I'm thinking. Yeah. Yes, and as well, I think a lot of people have very strong opinions about the royal family. Yeah. Dan, fan of the royals?
Not really, but I am very excited for today's case. I really am.
You straight away, without because you don't research cases beforehand. You said, "Oh, there's some weird stuff about this case."
Weird stuff. It's fishy, I tell you. So Ben, you're right. I think the conspiracy theories do hold up.
Yeah, it holds water, and in that water, a few cod. Not that cod, Dan. Put it down. Controller, not. But yes, we're gonna delve deep into this. I mean, I'm not really huge on the royals. Weirdly, grew up in a household where my mum really didn't really like Diana, which I think is probably quite rare.
Yeah,
but she's strong. Quite a strong. Nah.
My parents are on holiday at the moment. I WhatsApped them on the drive over. Before I started driving. Pulled over.
I must message the parents. What's that bright light?
Well, allegedly. Well, no, actually. Well, we'll get into that. Allegedly. And I basically just said, do you remember when it happened? Where were you? And what did you think? And they both got quite upset because they both were big Princess Di fans and they were both moved by it. My mum said that on the day of the funeral, she did not let me and my brother play outside because she thought it was disrespectful on the day of the funeral. So we were shut in on the day, which was fine. It was a moment.
Die-hard fan.
Yeah.
You could say.
Yeah.
Maybe not as hard. Yeah. But interesting. Dan, your parents like Princess Di?
I don't think they could give a monkeys, to be honest. Generally speaking.
I think I've gone for a rather royal blue colour today. Big shout out to Gully Garms for us this series. Don't forget to use our codes KILLBEN and KILLTOM with 30% off at the store. But I think I look a bit European in it. But a bit Princess Di blue.
Yeah.
Imagine a whole suit in this colour.
I could see that, yeah.
Some pearls.
I don't know if this is okay to say or not.
Okay.
I'm already excited.
Obviously, Princess Diana...
I thought she was sexy. No.
Well... Yes, but also, I don't want to offend anyone or speak ill of the dead, but my memory of her, I think I was we were 5 or 6 or 7 when she passed away, so I don't have that much of a memory of her apart from the funeral. But doing the research, I've developed somewhat of a crush for the dead princess. Not specifically that version.
I think everything was fine until he said the dead princess sounded a bit weird. The rest of it was that's fine. As many people know, I still...
Probably explains that.
Because you wrote lovely.
I just wrote lovely on my laptop.
In blue?
In blue. Like Sharpie.
I'm very much... Do you know when you grow up in a household and people have a strong opinion and it kind of gets in your head?
Yeah.
Yeah, as I said, Mum not a huge fan of her. And then when I was watching documentaries of her, Mum was there when I was watching some documentaries and she was like, rolling her eyes. But then even my mum... who was very much like, it was just an accident. She was like, that one is the one out of those I could believe. And I was like, okay, which is big because she wasn't buying any of this at the beginning. So that's a big one. But yeah, I'm not gonna reveal what that is quite yet. Of course, we're gonna do our usual, probably slightly different layout to this week in terms of early life. This is obviously, I'm sure everyone's seen The Crown. There's a lot that goes on in the royal family.
Not seen it.
It's good because if you used it for research, it wouldn't be right. Essentially, yeah. But yes, we're going to delve deep into the history of Princess Di till the night of obviously the allegedly accident, and then we're going to look at the aftermath as well as looking at all the different theories, and we'll see where we all land because I think this is one that we could possibly leave on a similar agreement with. We haven't discussed it between ourselves yet, so that's good.
I think I know the theory that you're leaning towards. There's a few that don't make sense to me that I believe could be viable. So I'm excited to jump into this one with you boys. We've got a few different case titles in mind. We haven't decided on one yet, but
Ben's girlfriend.
Yeah.
That made it weird.
The death of Princess Diana, the Diana conspiracies, the case of Princess Di, the royal family murder, and what happened to the People's Princess. They're just a few.
The People's Princess really should be married to Dwayne "The Rock" Johnson.
Yeah,
really.
Absolutely.
But too late for that now. Yes, well, we're going to go into the early life now, Ben. A little bit of a throwback here to a Series 1, perhaps.
Series 1, yeah. The
Ben.
infamous Series 1.
Yeah, you talked over me in that as well. Ben, can you set the scene?
It would be my pleasure. It would be my honour, your liege.
I didn't give myself a thing. King. Karen.
During
the early hours of August 31st, 1997.
Did you pre-record this?
I did.
I was talking to Ben.
I think he
he
was
was
saying that
listening.
sound like me. During the early hours of August 31st, 1997, Diana, the Princess of Wales, passed away as a result of injuries sustained in a car crash that had occurred the previous night in the Pont tunnel in Paris. News of this event sent shockwaves across the entire world, and some 25 years later, many still hold beliefs that her passing was not all that it was originally made out to be, with speculation remaining rife amongst the general public. Was it simply an unfortunate car accident? Was it a case of intoxicated or reckless driving? Were pursuing paparazzi to blame? Were arriving ambulances delayed intentionally? Had Diana caused friction with multiple nations due to her anti-landmine campaign? Was there a cover-up? Was it an assassination? And were the royal family, or perhaps even the Illuminati, the masterminds behind her murder? In this episode, we plan to cover Diana's life and untimely death, as well as the many conspiracies surrounding both her passing and the events in the build-up and aftermath of it. We will cover the many popular conspiracy theories, but we will also be bringing some fairly rogue conspiracies into the case. It's been a while, hasn't it, since we did one of them? Yeah, well, I know why we've been them off. Yeah.
It's just another intro, but it's nice, Ben. Get your little thinking hat on, your little quill, dab it in there, really get deep in there, and then just write a bit. Oh, what is it? What is that colour? Anyway, see, the early life. The Honourable Diana Frances Spencer, later Princess Diana, was born on the 1st of July 1961 in Park House, Sandringham, Norfolk. She was the fourth of 5 children born to Edward John Spencer and Frances Ruth Spencer. John and Frances would become Viscount and Viscountess Althorpe, respectively.
So
what is a Viscount? Oh, you already got it, sorry.
Straight away, I was like, what's a Viscount? What's a Viscountess?
I wonder how much Viscount... A discount...
Well, that's it,
nah.
Well, I did. I went exactly the same way as you. I was like, they're not like Welchers. Viscounts are British noblemen ranking above baron, but below an earl. So between baron and an earl.
Oh, that's quite a night out.
And viscountesses are women holding the rank of viscount in their own right.
Okay, that's interesting.
Yeah.
Viscount. I never liked the word viscount. It always, obviously,
viscount,
count. You're always thinking, I want to suck your blood. Small neck. I want to drink your blood. Suck your neck. Diana had 4 siblings, and though her siblings will later marry into various other families of nobility, they are as follows. Lady Sarah McCorkadale, older sister. Baroness Jane Fellows, older sister.
You doing Star Wars?
I have no idea.
The Honourable John Spencer, older brother. John sadly died within 10 hours of childbirth.
I wonder where the Honourable. I thought they were referred to as the Honourable if they died.
I remember hearing people being introduced as the Honourable something. And the 9th Earl Spencer, Charles Edward Maurice Spencer, who was a younger brother. Kems.
Though Diana affectionately referred to her father as Johnny, we are going to refer to him as Lord Althorpe when discussing her early years. Diana's father, Lord Althorpe, was of British nobility. Don't know why I'm going to mobility straight away there.
He did have a scooter, a Vespa.
He had spent time serving as an officer in the British military. He would also later serve as a courtier to the British royal family, which is a person who serves as a companion to the king or queen.
Just being a chum, really.
Yeah, it's a lovely job. Yeah.
Do you want to come to South Africa? Yeah.
Now, Lord Althorpe was said to have been a very dominant member of the Spencer family, with a very short fuse and a nasty temper. There are many allegations that he was, at the very least, verbally abusive to all members of the Spencer family, and perhaps even on occasion, physically abusive as well.
Diana's mother Frances spent most of her life raising her children and dedicating her time to various Catholic charities. She was only 18 at the time that she married Lord Althorpe, making her the youngest woman to be married in Westminster Abbey since 1893. She was said to have been quite a quiet, timid and reserved lady who put her children before anything else.
Lord Althorpe and Frances were initially hoping for a baby boy in order to carry on the noble family line, and also due to the fact that their son would be the next heir to the Earl of Spencer title, which pretty much guaranteed a lot of wealth and a great deal of social ranking. And after having 2 girls, the pair were so confident of their baby being a boy at the time that they fell pregnant with Diana that they did not have a female name in mind until a week after Diana was born. They would eventually settle on Diana Frances, Diana taken after Lady Diana Spencer, a great-great-great-aunt who was a prospective Princess of Wales, and the Frances after Diana's mother. Diana was considered by the family the girl who should have been a boy.
always think with that because like people we've had a lot of times before people want a certain sex and then they get the other one. Do they really hold it against them that much? I mean, maybe in royal lineage it's probably a different story altogether. But I just find it so weird that we're calling people Lord Althorp and the Viscounts for literally doing nothing. They're just born into that life. And I didn't know before doing this because I just didn't ever really research Diana. That I always thought that she was kind of born to a regular family.
Yes.
I didn't realise she was part of the Viscount.
I wouldn't like to have been born into a royal or noble family, but I would like to have been born into a family with a fortune.
Okay.
Yeah, like properties or something. We'll talk about an interesting fortune shortly, but...
You'd like to be rich, but we wouldn't want responsibility.
Yeah. Because when
You'd like to have an accident, someone else's fault, you can sue for a lot of money.
Yeah, and just live off that.
And you have a stick.
Yeah, that's all right.
Yeah.
When I used to go for lunch working in Leeds, and there'd be people in like Gino De Campo's restaurant on a Wednesday at 3 o'clock.
You against
at 4 o'clock.
You trying the lasagna, mate? Wow, that's good.
I was just like, wow, these people are living. These people are living. I would love to be having a cocktail at 4 p.m.
I'm sure there's someone looking at you saying, oh, he's living.
Yeah.
Yeah. So you never know. You never know.
He's living.
Yeah, he's existing. Why is he looking at people through windows on a Wednesday? So Diana spent the majority of her childhood at the Spencer family home in Park House, Sandringham, which they leased from Queen Elizabeth II. If you're leasing it from Queen Liz, you've got a bit of dough, haven't you? However, she would later move to the Althorp House in Northamptonshire. Surely, moving to Althorp House, it's got their name on it. Yeah. It's a 13,000-acre estate with sprawling countryside that you really have to see to believe in terms of its size and scope. The Spencer family had owned the property since 1508, and the initial line of the Spencer family amassed a small fortune as sheep farmers had decided to purchase the land.
Even that, born into a family of like really wealthy sheep farmers, I'd be all right with that.
It'd be weird if you weren't all right with that.
Why would I not be all right with that?
Yeah, that's what I'm saying.
But then they're grafters mostly, aren't they?
Yeah.
Which I'm fine with.
You can still with your little stick.
Yeah.
You can have your little...
Yeah. But yeah, this land, this estate.
Yeah, I'd love to have a sprawling land, wouldn't you?
Yeah. I mean, the aerial pictures of this property, wow. You can barely get it all in.
I'm sure you can't get 13,000 acres. It would
be hard, wouldn't it?
Wide out and got land, is it?
The house was situated next to a holiday home belonging to the royal family, who would regularly visit the property, with Diana often playing in the estate with Prince Andrew and Prince Edward. She had what many would consider a very idyllic childhood with her siblings and enjoyed spending time outdoors. At the estate, she would particularly enjoy riding horses, dancing, swimming, and playing with her pets. Diana would very occasionally catch a glimpse of Queen Elizabeth, and these childhood experiences gave her dreams of one day marrying into a noble family.
There are conflicting opinions on just how happy Diana's childhood was, with many of those who interacted with the family given different versions of events. There doesn't seem to be a majority opinion on the matter. To illustrate one of the Spencer family staff's opinions, one of Diana's childhood nannies, Mary Clark, said, Diana had a happy, secure childhood from the moment I met her and worked with the family. I saw she was helpful, laughing, exuberant, loved by both her parents, and the apple of her father's eye.
That's nice, isn't it?
Yeah.
Yeah.
The apple doesn't fall too far from the tree. Oh, it's my father's eye. Give it back to him. No. The idea, the other people spin it on the idea that they wanted a boy and they held that against her. But yeah, I mean, you can't help but think very idyllic childhood from those scenes, the scenes we've just painted there.
But yeah, no, I mean, looking at, again, to go back to this property, it'd be hard to assume otherwise, wouldn't it, with acres like that? Yeah, but we'll go on to talk about actually it wasn't all that it seemed to be. So for the majority of her early life, Diana was homeschooled with the rest of her siblings under the supervision of her governess, Gertrude Allen.
She doesn't take any shit.
She would later attend various boarding schools, including Riddlesworth Hall in Norfolk and Westheath Girls' School in Kent. Riddlesworth. Perhaps surprisingly, Diana did not perform well academically, failing her O-levels twice before having to repeat them. However, this was not without its best efforts. Her outstanding community spirit was recognised with an award from Westheath School, and her younger brother Charles recalled Diana as being quite shy up until that time, because people were quite shocked to hear that actually she wasn't a great student. He put it down to her being really, really shy, but also feeling like it was not okay to ask for help, or feeling like she wouldn't be given any additional support.
Outstanding community spirit does sound like they're giving that to the slightly kid that's a bit like, oh, Diana's eating Play-Doh again. Great spirit, though. Do you know what I mean?
I can kind of...
And that's O-levels. She's still eating Play-Doh. Oh, no levels. No, fair play to that.
If that award was given to any of us,
yeah,
I get it.
I don't know, Dan. That's gardening. I mean, Dan, yours is the proper.
I like garden.
I like garden. He's made a lovely little thing out there.
Thank you.
It's aptly sized to bury a body.
Oh, yeah.
Mum said that looks like a coffin.
Oh. Thanks, Mum.
So,
Surprise! Outside of school, Diana's passions included playing the piano, studying tap dance, as well as the ballet.
Oh.
Ben said it's studying watching the dance, but also doing it. Hence it being called the ballet rather than ballet.
I think that's right.
Ballet dancing. Oh, wow. Girl. She showed a talent for music from a very early age as an accomplished pianist, and she was passionate about expressing herself through dance. What does Diana want now? Oh, she wants more Play-Doh. She was also a very good swimmer and enjoyed running. She would regularly run around the Spencer estate.
Which you could assume would be quite similar to running a marathon. Look at the size of it.
Yeah, you're right.
Yeah, 13,000 acres. Probably quite a lot of miles, isn't it?
So it says 20.3 square miles.
Really? 13,000 acres?
Mm-hmm.
Well, a marathon's more than that, though, isn't it?
Yep.
26 or something.
Not a lot.
Yeah.
Not a lot in it.
I mean, she could have done it a time
Just
and
an
a
extra
bit.
bit, yeah.
We mentioned earlier that Diana's parents were really hopeful of having a baby boy in order to produce an eventual heir. We also mentioned that Diana's older brother, who was named John after his father, passed away shortly after childbirth. As a result of his passing, the marriage between Diana's parents became increasingly strained. Her father, Lord Althorp, was so upset that they had lost their baby boy that he sent his wife Frances to be medically analysed at Harley Street clinics in London in order to determine the cause of, as he put it, the problem. So not even long after this has happened and she's gone through all of that trauma, he sent her to London to find out what the problem with her is.
Yeah, that's horrible.
Which is horrible. It's alleged that he also became increasingly verbally and physically aggressive towards Frances from this point onwards.
Diana's mother Frances became increasingly depressed after Diana's younger brother Charles was born. Frances had struggled with her mental health after each of her pregnancies, but she encountered longer and darker bouts with depression after Charles was born. She would isolate herself to her bedroom and rarely interact in social occasions at the house. Apparently Diana would have to comfort her younger brother Charles when he would cry at night as an infant. Her mother was nowhere to be seen. Diana would go on to blame herself for her mother's unhappiness, but would also question her own belonging as she considered that she wouldn't have been born if her older brother John hadn't passed away at childbirth.
Yeah, so that's quite a horrible thought to have. As we said earlier, she was considered by the family the girl that should have been a boy.
Yeah.
And obviously the baby John had passed away, I think it was a year before Diana was born, so there was a lot of expectations on the family for that too.
But then that's her hollow feeling of the, if that person was born, I wouldn't have been born. That's a lot of people's stories, and it's just like...
It's true. On this moment, Diana's younger brother Charles said, "It was a dreadful time for my parents and probably the root of their divorce, because I don't think they ever got over it." So as you probably gathered from that quote from Charles, Diana's parents, John and Frances, divorced when Diana was only 8 years old, which despite her seemingly privileged upbringing, was still a highly traumatic experience for her and the rest of the Spencer family. It was generally not too common for people of nobility to divorce, though it did still happen. Her father, Lord Althorp, eventually won custody of the 5 Spencer children, and Diana and her siblings would end up splitting their time between their father's home in Althorp and their mother's new flat in London. Diana didn't enjoy living with her mother and was definitely a daddy's girl. And after the Christmas of 1967, Lord Althorp refused to let his daughter return to London to be with Lady Althorp.
Her mother would later remarry to a man named Peter Shan Kidd, who was an heir to a family wallpaper fortune.
Wow.
Wallpaper fortune pan.
I just made a note. I couldn't think of any at the time, but a wallpaper fortune. I mean, some of it, you do get some expensive wallpaper, to be fair. Papering over the cracks. Of what cracks, though?
Her mother's broken ex-marriage.
Yes.
That doesn't really work.
No. Paste. Wallpaper paste. I've got nothing.
It was brushed with cash. And subsequently, they moved to Scotland, which caused Diana to become more distant from her mother, figuratively and literally. Her father later went on to remarry as well.
There are allegations that physical abuse was apparent between John and Frances on the Spencer family estate in the build-up to the divorce. Penny Jr., who is a leading journalist and author on the royals, commented on the divorce between John and Frances as follows. Johnny could be violent, and Frances felt that she and her children would be safer out of the family home. A young Diana herself would later comment on seeing her father become physically aggressive with her mother. A young Diana said, "I saw my father slap my mother across the face. I was hiding behind the door and she was crying."
Do you reckon Penny Jura has a silhouette of the Queen on her face. Because Penny. Because of a penny.
Yeah.
The Queen's head's on a
I thought
penny.
it was more elaborate than that.
No, it was.
I figured of Queen the Band.
There was no layers. Please cut that out, Pudsey. So although Diana's parents were going to have a divorce, she was still very much a daddy's girl, and then the relationship would become strained as she got older due to her father's considerable disapproval of her later relationship with Prince Charles, which we'll discuss this in much more detail later. Johnny and the rest of the family would refer to Diana as Dutch, a reference to her Duchess-like attitude in childhood.
Dutch.
Come here, Dutch.
Hey, Dutch. Diana's father remarried after the divorce, and the woman that he chose to marry seemed to have a particular dislike for Diana.
Dutch.
For Dutch. She did not like the Dutch.
I don't like the Dutch.
I don't like Dutch.
Let's go Dutch. Let's not go Dutch.
I don't like to go Dutch. You pay. In 1976, Lord Althorp married Rain McCorkadale, with her becoming Rain Spencer, Countess Spencer.
Make it rainbow.
And Rain's relationship with Diana was strained, to say the least. Strained with rain.
Commonly used thing by the weather people. Today, bring an umbrella because you're going to be strained with rain.
And we don't want to cause you no pain. Diana described her new stepmother as a bully and as someone who married her father purely for the money.
To make it rain.
However, to give balance, Diana also once pushed Rain down a flight of stairs. The pair seemed destined not to get on together. Diana would later say that Rain's presence in her life would make her childhood very unhappy and very unstable.
Not her last
No, yeah.
rendezvous with stairs, is it? Diana claims that she found a letter written by Rain that talked about her plans to completely remodel the Spencer stately home and convert a portion of it into a gift shop for visitors.
Imagine that.
Where's the study?
It was a gift shop. Diddley Squat was a Jeremy Clarkson, isn't it? Which would generate an additional income for the family. Diana was absolutely seething at this idea and tried her best to warn her father of Rain's plans.
Rein it in.
Yeah, that's good. Tell her to rein it in, probably. But he seemed unfazed by this. Rain would go on to completely redecorate the family home and install the aforementioned gift shop that infuriated Diana. What do you call the shop?
Spencer's stately home.
Mark's Aunt? No,
McCorkadale's. Sounds like an off license
does.
in Scotland.
McCorkadale's. Don't tell that elephant man. Yeah, it could maybe that. McCorkadale's.
Yeah.
Why not come into McCorkadale's? We have shortbread and wine and erasers. We bought a lot of erasers.
As she grew into her teenage years, Diana's life was not the outwardly privileged one it had all appeared to be, and she wasn't always entirely happy. Diana reportedly struggled with feelings of abandonment and isolation due to her parents' divorce, and she also experienced bullying from her older sisters and stepmother. She also
Cinderella.
It is a bit, isn't it?
Yeah.
But just didn't push anyone down the stairs.
Yeah, to be fair,
Or the gift shop.
Cinderella was being a bit of a bitch herself. So.
Diana also endured large amounts of insecurity growing up and often had negative feelings about her own appearance. However, Diana's compassionate nature and her ability to make peace in most situations helped her to cope with these challenges. On her ability to resolve tensions, Diana would comment,
Carry out a random act of kindness with no expectation of reward, save in the knowledge that one day someone might do the same for you.
pretty spot on.
Surprisingly good, actually.
That was very Diana.
I think we should keep that in.
I mean, is it disrespectful?
No, it sounded just put her head on yours.
What are this? Anybody else feeling a draft?
It does sound just like her.
I think the wind went inside me there, Charles.
That saved £100.
In the following years, Diana worked as a nanny before attending an incredibly expensive finishing school abroad in Switzerland called Alpine Vie de Minette. Here, she undertook courses on dressmaking, cookery, and sewing. It also had a heavy focus on high society etiquette. She then returned to London and started living in her mother's London flat with two of her school friends. Whilst living in London, Diana took a series of lessons in advanced cooking and held a number of low-paying jobs. I imagine they're not that low-paying. And she's probably living rent-free in London.
Yeah.
I do kind of feel, I mean, this might get cut out. It's a little bit boo-hoo Diana. I mean,
I hear what you're saying.
Obviously, I wasn't the fly on the wall in a lot of these situations. Obviously, it wasn't. Honest. A lot of it is just like divorced parents. Yeah, some people struggle with parents being divorced more than others. Mm-hmm. Absolutely fine. I don't know. Maybe I'm being a bit harsh on it.
No. I hear what you're saying. I don't think she was nannying, in the slums.
Yeah. She first worked as a dance instructor for a girls' school. See? Before a skiing accident. Oh, she's gone skiing. She's got it. Caused her to miss 3 months of work. She then worked as a playgroup assistant. Play-Doh. She was also hired to do some cleaning work for her sister Sarah and several of her friends. And she also worked as a hostess at parties for various family friends. So yeah, it's quite...
Cushy jobs.
Yeah. I worked in a garden centre where builders would laugh at me for my emo hair and my tight trousers, and they wouldn't listen to any of my advice. Sure, I didn't know anything about what I was doing. You want some hardcore? Yeah, I'll put some on. That's not what they wanted, Ben. Yeah, it sounds like a very cushy jobs to me.
Well, it just keeps getting better because as an 18th birthday gift from her mother, in 1979, Diana was gifted a £50,000 flat in Colehorn Court, which is just by Earl's Court. And at the time, late 70s, £50,000.
Ben, I'm just about to do it on the calculator, mate.
You put it through that calculator of ours.
1979, right?
1979.
50,000 quid, you say, right?
Yeah.
50
Earl's Court.
50, that doesn't help the calculator. Costing, that is equivalent to about £228,000.
You'd never get that in London nowadays.
No, but I mean just her being gifted that.
Well, yeah, that's true. Very nice 18th. Yeah. So this particular area, Colehorn Court, very exclusive and affluent part of London at the time. She would live here for the next few years, moving many of her friends into the flat. So she's enjoying, late teenage years, living the life, got cushy jobs, nice flat, life was coming up peachy. Aged 18, Diana's life changed dramatically and drastically when she met 30-year-old Prince Charles, the heir to the British. That's pretty good as well. He does a good Diana and Charles. Let's see what happens.
Can't do Camilla, though. You do a good Andrew, though. I don't sweat, come here. Not like that, give it.
He wasn't a friend.
I don't know where the toilets are in that place.
Pizza Express. I'm a Domino's guy.
I was having a sloppy Giuseppe. That was his excuse. He was there.
Oh, yeah.
Andrew, trip yourself up, Andrew.
Yeah, well, I do that.
I fell on it.
I'm falling. Your impressions were very good there.
Thank you so much.
So Charles was the Prince of Wales and considered England's most eligible bachelor due to the fact that he was also a royal. He had been a serial dater and he had been seen in public with many of England's most eligible women.
I mean, this is very shallow of me.
Yeah, he looks like a caricature.
Yeah.
He always has done.
Well, from what's that show? That not very funny show, but the puppets.
Oh, the political one.
There's a puppet of Charles in an English comedy show, which looks like spot on, but
Spitting Image.
Spitting Image, that's the one.
I got that because you said spot on.
Ooh.
Oh, Jesus, yeah. Yeah, up until this point, Charles had been a serial dater and he'd been seen in public with many of England's most eligible women. So these women were referred to as Charlie's Angels in the British tabloids. Charles had also been dating Camilla Parker Bowles on and off for a number of years before meeting Diana. And many claim that he never truly fell out of love with her and always held her in warm regard, despite the fact that at the time, the royal family did not approve of Camilla. So he's 12 years older than Diana. The families have crossed paths many times. She's more of an Andrew and Edward guy. He's immediately taken aback by Diana.
Before Diana became involved with Prince Charles, it is interesting to note that he had already dated her eldest sister, Sarah. Though she first met Prince Charles when she was aged 16, she had known, or at least had been made aware, many people from his family from a very early age. Queen Elizabeth II was her brother's godmother, and Diana would also play with Charles's brothers, as we mentioned. Her childhood house was next to one of the royal family's holiday homes. There is one particular anecdote from Tina Brown's The Diana Chronicles that suggests that Prince Charles, then aged 17, once interrupted a then 5-year-old Diana's tea party with Prince Andrew.
Oh, the less said about that, the better.
That's
If you're
fake.
like 12 or 13, you pop by. But 17, I think. Pop by, put the kettle on. You do better, Charles, than me.
Diana introduced herself to Charles at a barbecue on the Althorpe estate. Though she was shy as a child, time in London had given her far more confidence and far more life experience. Diana remarked how sad it was to see Charles attend a recent family funeral by himself, to which Charles immediately kissed her.
That's weird.
That is weird.
That's weird, isn't it?
It's a weird moment. It's like, it was quite sad. This moment is quite interesting as despite Charles potentially still being hung up on Camilla, he knew that Diana was exactly the type of woman his family would approve of. Well, little did they know. From a noble family. She'd never had a boyfriend and was naturally very beautiful. Yeah, Ben wrote that bit because he's still infatuated with her.
I wrote a few different things before settling on very beautiful.
Oh, what did you write?
Lovely. Prince Charles was immediately captivated by Diana, and the pair began to date. Charles was 30, and Diana was just 18. And as we have mentioned before, he had already spent some time dating Diana's older sister Sarah when he became infatuated with Diana. He claims that he first fell for Diana after the barbecue when the pair were both guests at a country weekend during the summer of 1980. This is where he took a serious interest in Diana as a potential bride, but it seemed that he mostly took this interest due to pressure from his family, and as he later framed it, pressure from the nation.
The relationship then began to progress to the point where Charles invited Diana aboard the Royal Yacht Britannia to go on regular sailing weekends. It then evolved to the stage where Charles felt he was ready to introduce Diana to his family at Balmoral Castle, where she was said to have made an excellent impression on the Queen Mother and the Duke of Edinburgh. For Diana, this was obviously a huge thrill. She was seen by many as a commoner who had suddenly been swept up by a prince, but this couldn't be further from the truth. That's what I thought happened.
Yeah, I was the same as you. I thought she was sort of not a lady of the, I can't say that, lady of the streets. I thought she was very much came from like a working class family. Dad was a bricklayer, mum worked at the checkouts, that type of thing. But it's so much different to that. Self-edited there. I've learned about that. But it couldn't have been further from there. Fuck's sake. I'm learning still. But those were just...
Wrong, you were wrong.
I was wrong, yeah. So wrong. And imagine that as well. You're dating someone and they take you back to Balmoral or any castle, really. That's quite cool, isn't it?
Yeah.
You're looking for a rich partner.
You really are. It seems like, yeah.
Following this, Charles proposed to Diana on the 6th of February 1981 at Windsor Castle. It was said to have been a very romantic occasion, to which Diana, despite initially thinking that Charles was kind of having a bit of a laugh with the proposal and it was a bit of a joke, eventually accepted. They had, to this point, only gone out with one another 13 times. Apparently, when proposing, Charles explained that this was a fast-tracked opportunity for Diana to eventually become the Queen of England, which is quite a proposition, isn't it?
On one knee going, this would mean you'd be the Queen eventually. It's a bit like...
This would mean you'd be the Queen eventually.
Not that.
No, well, he's a bit...
Not going to knight her with that.
So yeah, he basically reassured her that, marriage to me means your future is well looked after. Well, exactly, yeah. So Diana laughed initially and then responded,
okay.
And before mulling it over for a while longer, Diana responded,
Yes, I love you so much.
Charles replied strangely,
I love you too, whatever that means.
The pair had to keep their engagement a secret from the public for the following 2.5 weeks, amid rampant rumours that Charles had a mysterious blonde girlfriend. The whatever love means comment is a phrase that Charles would also use in a later interview with the press. And there's a clip of this. Diana has stood right next to him. I believe the interviewer had said, are you very much in love? And Diana goes, oh, yes. I was doing Charles. Oh, yes, you're very much in love. And Charles just goes, yes.
Whatever that means.
Yeah, and Diana just sort of... What?
Yeah, you asked me.
Exactly.
Charles and Diana announced their engagement on the 24th of February 1981, and Diana left her role as a nursery assistant immediately after this before taking residence in Buckingham Palace and the build-up to the royal wedding. Diana was the first English woman to marry the first in line to the throne since Anne Hyde married James II, which happened over 300 years earlier. Imagine how big their garden was, Ben.
Acres and acres, mate.
Thank you. And she was also the first royal bride to have a paying job before her engagement.
I found that interesting.
Many authors and journalists have commented that Diana was incredibly lonely and unhappy during this time, having been isolated from many friends and family. She had nobody to confide in, which is something she desperately needed. She was also followed everywhere relentlessly by the paparazzi. She had suddenly become one of the most famous women in the world overnight, a global sensation, and she had nobody to confide in and nobody to comfort her.
So yeah, she's gone from a nursery nurse that nobody had ever heard of to overnight most famous woman in the world.
Like Susan Boyle.
Yeah, very similar.
Actually, exactly the same story. I do the voice.
So when they announced their engagement, there's a very famous photo shoot and loads of press are there and people are filming at the same time. And apparently, although I couldn't find this footage, but I've heard it on 2 documentaries, in the engagement photos, Charles put his arm around her and went...
A bit tubby, aren't we?
Which allegedly started Diana's bulimia.
Yeah.
And she was already very self-conscious about her appearance and her image. And apparently...
One day I'm going to be on a penny, so I need to...
Yeah.
You know?
Yeah. What a horrible bastard. She was already very conscious of her image and...
Play-Doh, innit?
Yeah. Not Play-Doh. Eating the purple one.
In the build-up to the wedding, Diana felt adamantly that Charles was still in love with his former girlfriend Camilla. The night before the wedding, Charles told Diana that he did not love her, but he wanted to do right by his family and wanted to do right by his country. It's not really the night before.
Yeah, don't do that. That's terrible, isn't it?
This news devastated Diana, but she told close friends, I have to go through with it. We have had the tea towels printed. Charles would later take 2 photos of Camilla with him on the pair's honeymoon, which Diana found in a hidden book. He is also alleged to have called Camilla on every day of the honeymoon.
That's outrageous behaviour from Charles.
Tea towels printed.
We've got to go through with it. Yeah. Deposit's gone.
Yeah.
No way back. Horrific though, isn't it? He's making comments about her weight. I love you, whatever that means.
I don't love you, not before the wedding.
Yeah.
Camilla.
Taking photos of her on his honeymoon. In a sneaky little book.
Yeah, it's not...
Just off for a read.
So I was shocked about this, and I was kind of thinking Charles's behaviour here was like abhorrent, obviously, and but apparently that isn't. It's quite a well-known thing in the royal family. How, you know, Prince Philip was known to go having multiple affairs with different women. They're there to have children, be the face of what's going on, but then behind the scenes, it's kind of fair game. Like, all they want is a basic clothes horse and someone to produce children. Is essentially what they're after. So Charles did right by the family was, yes, you know, it's not weird. We'll get married. You'll get, your life will be made. You'll get to do all this. You'll live a lavish lifestyle.
The public will love it.
Yeah, the public. He didn't probably know how much the public would love and be on her side, which we'll go on to later on. But it was essentially, you know, it was a deal like, your life will be sorted, but I'm still going to do what I want, and you know, it's just a matter of this is what the people want. The question is, how much did Diana know that before going into it? I think she probably would have known a bit more about.
I agree.
Growing up in those kind of families, and I'm sure.
Yeah, because she was almost, as a child, almost moulded to be. Yeah. Your one goal is to marry someone of nobility.
Well, she wanted as a kid. She said, her saying that she'd seen the Queen. She then wanted to be. Yeah.
Then I'm wondering if she had only seen Charles 13 times before they got engaged. Is 13 times enough to realise that he's going to play the field when we're married? No,
but I mean that it's basically equivalent to The Sopranos, having a piece on the side and having the wife who's there with them the whole time. It's known that they're going to play away, but you're also going to be looked after, essentially. That's probably the best metaphor for it.
It's a good one, yeah. Sopranos with Charles. We're going to have to do this, aren't we?
Charlie Soprano.
Yeah.
He's a good worker.
Both Charles and Diana seemingly wanted to, but couldn't back out of the wedding. For Charles, he felt that Diana's mental health conditions and eating disorders made her more of a complex person than he was prepared to deal with. Which, again, if you feel that about that person, don't heighten their anxieties by saying, a bit tubby, are we? Sorry.
That is strong. I don't think you've called multiple child murders. You even called Adam Lanza.
I've got a thing for Diana. Whilst at the same time, Diana felt that Charles did not love her and was instead still very much in love with Camilla. Days before the wedding, Diana found a gift box at the royal office. She opened it and it contained a gold bracelet which had been engraved with the initials G and F. These were the initials of the names that Charles and Camilla affectionately nicknamed one another: Gladys and Fred.
It's kind of similar to this Love Actually scene, isn't it?
Yeah,
And Rickman. Every year I'm a Rickman. What's two young Gryffindors?
When Diana confronted...
Hurry up, Mr. Bean. I'm trying to have an affair.
Oh, and this. I do look a bit like him, don't I? When Diana confronted him about this, Charles informed her that he did not love Diana, but that he also did not love Camilla. Whatever love is. I don't like him.
Well, I think this is all very much through Diana's words, isn't it? I don't think Charles has said, I did say I didn't love her, I also didn't love Camilla.
So have that.
Yeah. I'm the prince. Hey?
However, amidst all of this tension and conflict and worry, the pair realised that the wedding was now already set to be one of the biggest events of the century, and so opted not to back out. And there are a few red flags there if you're about to marry someone and
they tell you repeatedly
they don't love you.
Yeah.
You find a box with their ex-girlfriend's initials on their nicknames as well. That's even worse. They had fucking nicknames.
Gladys and Fred.
That'd make me feel better. They're shit nicknames.
He was Gladys.
Oh, okay.
Fred, I've been very naughty. On the 29th of July 1981, then 22-year-old Diana became the Princess of Wales when she married Prince Charles at St Paul's Cathedral. The service was widely described as a fairy tale wedding and was watched by a global television audience of 750 million people, while 600,000 spectators lined the streets to catch a glimpse of the couple en route to the ceremony. Some interesting notes about the ceremony itself. Ben, can you share some interesting notes, please?
Yeah, of course, yeah. So firstly, as Diana was walking down the aisle...
Yeah.
Cameras picked up that she was looking left and right almost the whole way down instead of looking forward.
Yeah.
And it's alleged she was looking for Camilla, who was sat on the left side. And as soon as she sort of spotted her, you can just see her face go...
Spit her. All right. Oh, bloody heck. Gladys, what are you doing here, donkey?
So at the altar, Diana inadvertently reversed the order of Charles's first two names, saying Philip Charles Arthur George instead of Charles Philip Arthur George. She also then did not include the word obey in the wedding vow as well. So that was omitted, which is a traditional vow that was left out apparently at the couple's request, but a lot of people were quite surprised by that.
In sickness and in health, to love, cherish, and to obey, till death do us part.
So they just, they skipped the obey part, which
just do my own thing, and death till us part. The relationship was disjointed from the start, and despite the wedding being such a monumental occasion, the couple drifted further and further apart once they were married, with Charles regularly informing his family that his new bride was troubled. The pair went on to have 2 children together, both boys, William and Harry. During her first pregnancy with William, Diana did fall down a flight of stairs at Sandringham when she was 12 weeks pregnant. However, the fetus remained uninjured. Diana later confessed that she had intentionally thrown herself down the stairs because she was feeling so inadequate.
That's frightening, isn't it?
Diana would also suffer postpartum depression after the birth of William.
Yeah, you've got to wonder what kind of mental pressure was on her at the time. It's horrific. Harry was born 2 years after William. Diana claimed that she was aware that their second child was going to be a boy, but did not share the knowledge with anyone else, including Charles, as he was hoping for a girl. And this apparently was a time in their marriage when actually the pair were quite close and happy, and they seemed to have, gotten back on the same page as one another. As a mother, Diana gave her 2 sons far wider experiences than was considered usual for royal children. She regularly described her youngest son, Harry, as a bit naughty, just like me. And
It's a little boy.
No, but she's talking about her. And she rarely went to Charles or to the royal family for guidance or advice, as was often the procedure when it came to the children of royalty. Instead, she chose their first given names, dismissed a royal family nanny, and then hired one of her own choosing. She selected their schools and clothing, as well as planned all of their outings. She also took them to school herself, as often as her schedule would allow. She then made the decision to organise her public duties more flexibly in order to work around William and Harry's timetables. And despite some criticisms from royalists, she was extremely clear that she would put her children before anything else.
The other thing to mention here as well is it's been very speculated if Charles was Harry's father. I mean, there's been links to British Army officer James Hewitt, which is been alleged that Diana had an affair with, and Diana had a few affairs herself, which never gets really mentioned. And it's all Charles and Camilla, but my mum would be angry at me if I didn't say. Diana played her own part in all of this in terms of the relationship, kind of knowing more than she led on, playing the public a little bit, letting paparazzi sometimes know where she was going to be. I mean, her taking the kids to school and stuff, more than likely was to get people on her side. She's just a normal woman. So, yeah, I think there's obviously, like everything, there's 2 sides to the story. As I said, not at all a royalist or one that's a big fan of the royals, but I think it'd be naive to think Diana didn't know like a lot of what was going on, and definitely, and how the public was on her side.
Yeah, definitely. She would say on her children, "I want my boys to have an understanding of people's emotions, their insecurities, people's distress, and their hopes and dreams."
After 5 years of marriage, and despite alleged interventions from Jimmy Savile,
yeah,
you don't want an intervention from Jimmy Savile.
No,
Sir Jimmy Savile. Actually, no, it's taken away, wasn't it? Rightfully so, Ben.
Oh, I concur.
Good. Diana and Charles's relationship started to experience trouble. They had a 12-year age gap, which some had claimed was a major factor in their drifting apart. You don't know Blink-182? The pair also seemed to be attracted to other people. In 1986, Diana, as I mentioned a second ago, began a relationship with Major James Hewitt, who was the family's former riding instructor. And in the same year, Charles resumed his relationship with his former girlfriend, Camilla Parker Bowles.
So yeah, when the press kind of picked up on this, there were numerous headlines, but one that stuck out to me, a later photo, very infamous photo of Diana in the revenge dress.
Oh, yeah.
Yeah. The thriller, he left to woo Camilla. So the public were very much, as Tom said, on Diana's side. Although it was an issue, Charles was continually kind of informing the royals that, Diana has a problem, she's troubled, this and that, and he was trying to kind of gain sympathy, I guess, from their side. The public, however, was complete opposite. The country was very much aligned with Diana. Yeah. After the 2 separate couples were spotted at various events and holiday locations together, media sources began to speculate that the pair were engaging in separate affairs and were subsequently going to divorce. Apparently, the pair could not stand to be in one another's company, even when the children were present, and they continued to drift apart further.
In 1989, Diana was attending a party for Camilla's sister, Annabelle Elliott. Just don't go. And whilst at the party, Diana decided to confront Camilla about having an affair with her husband when she found her husband sat on a couch in a basement with Camilla.
Yeah, basement.
What did you put?
Couch in a basement's kind of like a teenage house party. Parents are away. Let's go down to the couch on the basement. Didn't expect that for a really exclusive royal party. It threw me off. Diana said of Charles at this time, He made me feel so inadequate in every possible way that each time I came up for air, he pushed me down again. Over the next few years, Diana would experience suicidal thoughts and have many battles with depression and anxiety. Despite attempts from prominent members of the royal family to save the marriage for the sake of their children and reputation, the pair ultimately decided to divorce in 1995. And again, I made another reference of Diana attending a dinner at Serpentine Gallery in Kensington, which is where the infamous photos of the revenge dress were taken.
Ben has put in his notes, core, what a dress.
You have as well.
Yes, I'm not joking. I'm not even joking.
I've got a crush.
Yeah.
I don't think it's going to go anywhere.
I hope not. I said I hope not. He was saying it could.
It was me.
Around the same time period, Diana published a secret autobiography, causing massive outrage and massive distrust among the royal family. Diana and her team did this unauthorised through her author, Andrew Morton. The book titled Diana...
By Barney Gumble.
The book titled Diana, Her True Story was published in 1992 and had essentially been built up of secret audio recordings made by Diana over several years. Sneaky Diana.
It is a bit sneaky. Yeah, I
Dirty
totally
Diana.
see. There are two sides to everything, aren't there?
To every penny.
Yeah. One side was Diana's.
Tales for Wales. The
Yeah.
Princess of Wales, the Queen. Yeah, it's
Telling a few tales.
Yeah, tall tales of that.
Yeah.
The royal family and Charles were incredibly angry about this publication. The book went into detail about the royal's life before becoming the Princess of Wales and gave a private perspective on Diana's public life, her unhappy marriage, her husband's relationship with Camilla Parker Bowles, and Diana's struggle with an eating disorder. And this is where Diana allegedly began to claim, "They're going to have me murdered and make it look like a car accident."
Although Diana blamed Camilla Parker Bowles for the majority of the issues with her marriage, Diana began to believe her husband had also been involved in other affairs. A lady named Tiggy Leg Burke had been hired by Charles as a young companion for his sons whilst they were in his care after the divorce. And
The au pair trick.
Yeah, I get it. And this made Diana extremely uncomfortable and paranoid. Diana became resentful of Tiggy and her relationship with her two sons. Prince Charles decided that it was time for him to tell his side of the story in a TV interview with Jonathan Dimbleby. In the interview, to the audience's shock, he said that he had recently rekindled his relationship with Camilla only after his marriage to Diana had irretrievably broken down. He never acknowledged that he had engaged in any kind of affair.
Princess Diana's BBC interview with Martin Bashir, an interview with HRH, the Princess of Wales, aired on November 20th, 1995, on the documentary series Panorama. Filmed in Diana's sitting room at Kensington Palace, the explosive interview made history because of the frank way Diana divulged intimate details of hers and her family's life. Diana did not tell close friends or family members about this interview at the time.
Yeah, this is a bombshell moment. Like, both of them are trying to save face, so they're both going public, trying to get the public on their side.
It's a slanging match, Ben.
It is a slanging match indeed, but there are so many moments from this interview, incredible different quotes from Diana. There's also a documentary that I've accidentally watched thinking it would show me the full interview as well, but there's a documentary made around the conspiracy of this interview.
Bashing Bashir, isn't it?
Bashing Bashir, big time, yeah. But it basically talks about how Martin Bashir tricked Diana's younger brother Charles into basically believing he was being spied on by creating fake pay slips and saying, look, this is a pay slip to someone that's got their eye on you, and this is a pay slip that's someone else that's got their eye on you.
That's
both eyes.
nice, yeah.
But it's a very interesting documentary. But yeah, there are numerous quotes from Diana in this interview, and we'll play a few of them for you now.
Your Royal Highness, how prepared were you for the pressures that came with marrying into the royal family?
At the age of 19, you always think you're prepared for everything.
This was the moment Britain had been waiting for, and they packed the pubs, just as they did for the royal wedding 15 years ago. Millions of televisions in millions of homes were tuned in. Princess Diana in her own words.
And with a husband who was having a relationship with somebody else?
A husband who loves someone else, yes.
You really thought that?
I didn't think that, I knew it.
Do you think Mrs. Parker Bowles was a factor in the breakdown of your marriage?
Well, there were 3 of us in this marriage, so it was a bit crowded.
She talked openly about having postnatal depression, about suffering from bulimia for more than 3 years, and about the self-inflicted injuries to her arms and legs.
She says she only wanted to put her side of the story. Is the House of Windsor so flimsy it can be shaken by a single interview?
Did your relationship with James Hewitt go beyond a close friendship?
Yes, it did. Yes.
Were you unfaithful?
Yes, I adored him. Yes, I was in love with him.
Astonishing. Refreshment was needed to help us take it all in. At 10:41, the national grid recorded a 1,000 megawatt surge. 300,000 kettles were being switched on. At least 15 million viewers were busy brewing. Even more remarkable, Newsnight on BBC Two, more used to an audience of around 800,000, found themselves with 8 million.
In an astonishingly frank interview in which she admitted adultery and bulimia, Diana told millions of viewers of attempts by Buckingham Palace to intercept her mail and blacken her name.
Do you really believe that a campaign was being waged against you?
Yes, I did. Absolutely. Yeah.
Why?
I was a separated wife to the Prince of Wales. I was a problem. Full stop. Never happened before. What do we do with her?
Can't we pack her off to somewhere quietly rather than campaign against her?
She won't go quietly. That's the problem. I'll fight till the end because I believe that I have a role to fulfill. And I got 2 children to bring up.
The interview ended with Diana being asked about her reasons for giving the interview, with the princess claiming that she wanted to reassure her supporters that she had not let them down and that her priorities were her children and the man on the street.
See, I'm listening to this and reading this in a cynical eye.
No,
and
I get
cynical attitude, which maybe we need there. We need the devil and the angel on the shoulder, and this one I'll be the devil, Ben, and you can be the little angel.
Yeah, I'm happy with that.
It sounds very PR, doesn't it? My priorities are the children and the man on the street. And so that sounds a bit mean. Dan, what are you thinking from so far with this? Do you seeing what I mean in terms of it seems very PR-y with how...
Yeah, I do completely agree with you, yeah.
That's great.
She's kind of covering her image.
Devils and one angel.
Huh?
2 devils and one angel.
Couple of devils, cheeky devils on one shoulder, and...
What was going to happen to the angel? She'd released a book, she'd done a very infamous interview. The royal family are now increasingly less keen on Diana. They've pretty much turned on her and have a very negative opinion of her. Also in this book and in the interviews, she talked about her depression, anxiety, suicidal thoughts, rampant bulimia, and she also talked about how she had engaged in numerous acts of self-mutilation, suggesting that she had regularly hurt her arms and legs. And this has led to some speculate that she actually had a borderline personality disorder. I can definitely see Charles sort of telling his family that...
Well, I mean, as well, like, it was that kind of time, you're saying women are crazy and very emotional and the dramatic and things like that. It's like, that was a time when people would say that and people go, yeah, you're right. As well, from his side, he could easily spin it in that sense. If it was now, if Charles was saying that kind of stuff, it would go down a lot worse.
Yeah, that's true.
Diana was considered one of the most famous women in the world due to her marriage to the prince, but also due to her many notable charitable contributions. She used her power and celebrity to do countless things for multiple charities and some society's most vulnerable. She started her own AIDS charity and used her spotlight to draw support to the charity.
So there was this thing with that as well. There was such a huge stigma around HIV at the time. There was a big build-up to her visit of this particular hospital that she'd helped to fund. Will she or will she not shake hands with the AIDS patients, and will she or will she not wear a glove? So she ended up not only not wearing a glove, but shaking hands with most of the patients as well.
She was also a patron of Halo Trust, a charity that removes landmines left behind by war.
Her list of charitable contributions and philanthropy is almost endless. So, you know, they are...
Mother Teresa, pals.
Yeah, loads of famous pals.
Yeah.
Nelson Mandela, Elton John, Hillary Clinton, Freddie Mercury, Liza Minnelli, Michael Jackson, Gianni Versace, George Michael, and David Bowie. There's so many people, celebs that she's been papped with, so many. And she was mega famous.
Mega.
Yeah, mega. And yeah, that's why she began all of her charitable contributions and the amount of support that she drew to each charity. Yeah, she became the people's princess and won the heart.
Not my mum, I'll tell you that much.
Yeah. But yeah, around the world, she was beloved around the world.
Even people in America were, fascinated, weren't they?
They were.
So in October of 1996, just 10 months before she died, Diana wrote a letter to her close friend, her butler, Paul Burrell. In this letter, she made 3 very unsettling predictions. There is a plot to kill me, they're going to make it look like an accident, and Prince Charles will be behind it all.
I mean, there's a little conspiracy around this letter itself as well, because handwriting experts have confirmed it's her, but the royal investigation into this said that they are suspiciously indifferent to her normal letters.
Apparently she made a lot of claims as well.
Yeah.
And
it's also not addressed to anyone at the top.
To Paul.
To Paul, yeah.
Yeah.
Burrell the Butty, my butler.
Butty.
Yeah.
Bacon. Producer Dan's going to read this letter out now, and then we're going to go onto the timeline.
I am sitting here at my desk today in October. longing for someone to hug me and encourage me to keep strong and hold my head high. This particular phase of my life is the most dangerous. Charles is planning an accident in my car, brake failure and serious head injury in order to make the path clear for Charles to marry Camilla. I have been battered, bruised and abused mentally by a system for 15 years now, but I feel no resentment. I am strong inside, and maybe that is a problem for my enemies. Thank you, Charles, for putting me through such hell and for giving me the opportunity to learn from the cruel things you have done to me.
So, as part of the divorce settlement, Diana was no longer able to be referred to as Her Royal Highness, though she was able to keep her title as the Princess of Wales. She was able to keep some of her properties in London. She had various flats across London, but she did lose her royal security, which is obviously a very high and intrinsic level of security to have lost. So for someone that was the most famous woman in the world at the time to suddenly then have to hire like private bodyguards and small security firms, well, it's going to feed into some of the conspiracies that we're going to talk about. But yeah, you've no longer got the royal guard with you. You've no longer got security with you on a royal level. She's, perhaps more vulnerable.
But then with her level of thinking what's going to happen, maybe the royal guard is exactly who she wouldn't want to be.
It's true.
Looking after her. And
it's very true.
Now I'm going to throw to the timeline leading up to Princess Diana's untimely death.
22nd of May 1997. Diana takes a trip to Lahore, Pakistan. During her trip, she was helping to raise money for a cancer clinic established by Imran Khan. Imran Khan was a good friend of Diana's, and he was also known for being a cricket icon and is more famously known now for being a former Prime Minister of Pakistan.
Imran can't do it without her.
Exactly.
But with her, Imran can.
Whilst she was enjoying her trip, British tabloids were running rife trying to establish her relationship with a heart surgeon named Hasnat Khan. The pair had an off and on again relationship spanning from 1995 to 1997, after they met at Royal Brompton Hospital.
He knew the way to her heart.
Keyhole surgery.
What's the romantic bit about that? You spine through it.
He bloody loved it.
Recall that dress.
Diana was checking in on a friend whose husband was a patient at the hospital and had experienced a hemorrhage during surgery. At first, the pair had a very close friendship, but the relationship apparently turned romantic when they drove to his uncle's house in Stratford-upon-Avon. And, quote, Diana met my aunt and uncle, we had dinner in a restaurant, and then drove back to London.
That sounds romantic.
Sounds very romantic, doesn't it? No wonder they fell for one another.
The aunt and uncle just going, ooh, every time they say anything. Maybe, I don't know, I wasn't there. You love it, don't you? Love it, don't you? Diana and Hasnat sitting in a tree.
Hasnat doing surgery.
Once on the heart, then
one
on the butt.
pussy.
Different routes.
Yeah. Both work.
Not after you finish.
The relationship between Hasnat and Diana became so strong that she eventually introduced him to William and Harry, and he would go on to confess that he and Diana even considered marriage but had doubts. He said, my main concern about us getting married was that my life would be hell because of who she was. I knew I would not be able to live a normal life, and if we ever had children together, I would not be able to take them anywhere and do normal things with them.
Do you know what he was planning to wear at the wedding?
Tell me. A hazmat suit. I fucking knew it. Ultimately, the couple's relationship would come to a halt when Diana was pictured with Dodi Fayed. The two talked, and Hasnat commented that Dodi was able to fulfill Diana's wishes, as he was willing to live a somewhat public life with her. This was something that Hasnat just could not do.
For a bit of perspective, Dodi Fayed was Mohammed Fayed's son. Mohammed Fayed famously owned Harrods, who go on to own Fulham, basically had a lot of money, and he's an Egyptian businessman, apparently came over here with nothing and then ended up having a huge empire. Some people speculate how he gained his wealth, but it's the story that's been, kind of put out there is, he rags to riches story. His son obviously born into a lot of wealth as well. So Hasnat kind of thinking, that makes more sense. He's used to the lifestyle, he's used to the cameras and the lights and that kind of stuff. So you can see why he kind of stepped away there. And he will go on to it, but it's been alleged that Mohammed Fayed was very keen for Dodi and Diana to be close.
Oh, definitely, yeah.
And we'll get into that.
Well, he also owned the Hotel Ritz in Paris, which we'll also get into. Sorry.
Have you booked us a room? Have you?
Yeah.
Oh, nice. On the business. So the 1st of July 1997, on this day, Diana celebrated her 36th birthday. To celebrate, Diana appeared at the Tate Gallery. Diana wasn't the only one partying that day, as the Tate was honouring its centenary.
17th of July, 1997. Mohammed Al Fayed invites Diana and her sons on a holiday in Saint-Tropez. Dodi Al Fayed was the son of Mohammed, an Egyptian billionaire and the former owner of Harrods. Dodi was famous in his own right. He is best known for being a film producer. He produced the successful films Hook, The Scarlet Letter, and Chariots of Fire. Bloody love Hook.
Yeah, Hook's great fun.
Yeah.
Good night, Neverland.
Katie Nicholl wrote in her book William and Harry, Behind the Palace Walls, that Mohammed purchased a luxury £15 million yacht as soon as Diana had accepted his invitation to join the family on holiday. That's just silly money,
Yeah,
isn't
can you imagine buying, like, maybe you got some friends coming over, you might buy a sourdough.
Yeah.
Not a £15 million yacht, Mohammed.
Yeah.
Fair play. How the others live, Ben, eh?
How they do, yeah. And again, if there are any millionaires or even billionaires listening to the podcast, I'm available.
How much to spend a whole day with you?
$2,000. What are you saying whole day, though? When is that, like a working day?
No, I'm saying whole.
A whole. Oh, I've
No
got to be with
W.
them in the dark as well.
No W. $2,000.
No, 9 to 5, yeah, that'd be. I'd do a $2,000.
I don't know if
I want to be with them in the dark.
I don't think you're getting what I'm saying. I said about the W.
Oh, right. Yeah.
You said in the dark.
No, not $2,000. As soon as he was aware that Diana accepted the invitation, a brand new luxury yacht is purchased. Diana goes to join him in Saint-Tropez with her boys. This was Mohammed's way of safeguarding his royal guests and ensuring that they had maximum privacy. His ulterior motive was to play Cupid between the princess and his eldest son, Dodi. It is believed the pair had actually first met in 1986, when Diana's ex-husband Charles was actually playing against Dodi in a match of polo. It is thought that at this time Dodi was in a relationship with Kelly Fisher, a model. Kelly claims that she and Dodi were engaged when he began his relationship with Diana. A lot going on, isn't it?
So that's very interesting, because obviously Hassan kind of stood aside for his own reasons, but it seemed Dodi, or maybe from his father's influence, were like, no, go for Diana here.
Yeah.
The 7th of August 1997, first rumours of Diana's relationship with Dodi Al Fayed begin to emerge. In the weeks before her death, numerous newspapers reported that Diana took another trip with Dodi to the Mediterranean. This time it was a solo trip, as her sons were in Scotland at Balmoral. Photos appeared of Diana and Dodi kissing and frolicking around in the sea. This solidified the relationship rumours.
Frolicking around in the sea.
What do you mean? There's that like dunking the head. Get off me!
Flashing, yeah.
Yeah, like,
really dunking.
Really dunking, yeah. Dunkin' Donuts. Yeah, just frolicking. Interesting.
Just having a good time.
Yeah. Maybe on a lilo.
Yes.
I brushed me off town. Don't want to get my hair wet. We'll go for dinner afterwards.
On the 30th of August 1997, the new couple ended their holiday and flew from Sardinia to Paris. At 4:30 p.m, Diana and Dodi arrive at the Ritz Hotel. This hotel, as we mentioned, was owned by Dodi's father. When they arrive at the hotel, they enter using the back entrance. They then make their way up to the Imperial Suite. So now we're going to break down a bit more of a hour-by-hour time frame here, as this is when things begin to escalate, and also various rumours have become more apparent to feed into certain conspiracies.
5:40 to 6:30 p.m, Dodi ventures to Rapossi Jewellers. Rapossi's Jewellers is a high-end jeweller, and has said that Dodi purchased 2 rings on this day. Various reports conflict as to whether these were engagement rings or not. At approximately 7 p.m, Diana and Dodi decided to leave the Ritz Hotel. They are then escorted and driven to Dodi's property near the Arc de Triomphe. 7 p.m, Henri Paul, deputy head of security at the Ritz, clocks off duty at work.
So yeah, a really notable figure. He will eventually, well, we'll talk about it more shortly, but many people accuse him of being under the influence in this particular time frame, and that he's actually caught on surveillance, just strutting about, looking very sober, very aware of his surroundings.
We'll get onto it.
Yeah, we'll get onto it, yeah. 9:50 p.m, the couple decides to have their dinner at L'Espadon. They had attempted previously to have dinner at Benoit Paris. It's not Chris's. Chris Benoit. Sorry. But when they were hounded by paparazzi, the couple left. So yeah, Dodi became quite agitated by the fact that there was so much paparazzi following them. The couple then decided to have dinner in their room, away from the preying cameras of all media personnel.
10:08 p.m, Henri Paul comes back to work. So as we mentioned, he clocked off work earlier. It's believed that he had finished his day as expected, but then was called back on duty. At 10:30 p.m, Henri Paul speaks to paparazzi at the front of the hotel at least 3 times, and this is seen on CCTV footage. At 10:43 p.m, Henri Paul decides to go to the bar in the hotel. He leaves 20 minutes later alongside Trevor Rhys-Jones, who is Diana's bodyguard.
11:51 p.m. At this time, a Mercedes and a Range Rover, which paparazzi believed to be carrying the couple, are sent away from the front of the hotel in the hopes that the majority of the paparazzi follow these decoy cars.
So this is like a usual method they'd use. One car goes one way, they drive the other way. Yeah, it's important to mention Henri Paul is a big character in this case, but he's seen on CCTV walking around tying both shoes, which a lot of people on documentaries want to point out how sober he looked because he bent down to tie each one. He seemed absolutely fine.
He didn't do the classic drunken sort of kick the laces a little bit and hope they tie themselves.
But that's why they do it?
Nah.
Yeah, exactly
Velcro.
that.
Slip on.
One's bigger than the other, isn't it?
What? Oh, shoes.
Clubfoot.
31st of August 1997. At 6 minutes past midnight, Diana and Dodi leave their suite. 10 minutes past midnight, Diana and Dodi are seen on CCTV in a lift. Diana has her hand over her mouth as though she has just made a joke. When they arrive at the hotel's lobby, Dodi embraces Diana by placing his arm around her waist.
So this CCTV footage has been analysed so much by people, and they said, look how playful Diana's been. And the arm around the waist, that really suggests that they're madly in love. It's like...
It's just two people in a lift.
Yeah, literally. At approximately 20 past midnight, Dodi and Diana leave the hotel and go into a Mercedes S280 limousine with Henri Paul as the driver and Trevor Rees-Jones for protection. Henri Paul takes the group via an indirect route to the intended destination of Dodi's apartment. It was not Henri's job as head of security to chauffeur the couple around, and he was reportedly reminded of this several times before entering the vehicle with the group. Moreover, multiple sources recorded seeing him have at least 2 alcoholic drinks before leaving.
At approximately 23 minutes past midnight, it has been predicted that at this time the car was driving at speeds near 70 miles per hour in a 30 mile per hour zone. Henri Paul lost control of the car after having a minor collision with a white Fiat Uno. This caused him to swerve and lose control of the vehicle. Being unable to regain control, the car carrying the group crashes into the 13th pillar of the Pont de l'Alma bridge. We're going to get into the conspiracies here, but basically, first of all, people believe that the head of security, who is now also chauffeuring the couple around, has had at least 2 drinks at the hotel bar. They were, despite sending out the kind of dummy vehicles through the front of the hotel, the paparazzi still caught wind of the fact that they'd left in a limousine.
So people question with him talking to paparazzi at the front, what was the reason for that?
Yeah, that was also suspicious. A number of paparazzi still then follow this vehicle, and apparently, although they're doing 70 in a 30 zone, paparazzi on motorbikes were also trying to get to the side of the vehicle, the front of the vehicle, taking photos, flashing lights into the driver's vision. But yeah, it's basically saying that he had to swerve for some reason, lost control of the vehicle, and then there's been a huge crash into the 13th pillar under the bridge.
So at 26 minutes past midnight, Frederick Malaise, a doctor, is driving past when he observes the crash site. He stops and provides the limited help he can while calling for emergency services. At 30 minutes past midnight, the first police officers arrive at the scene. Instead of helping the injured persons in the car, the paparazzi that followed the car into the tunnel continue to take pictures of the scene. Police corner off the area.
Yeah, there are some pretty horrific photos online. Yeah, you'd think that people would all be, especially if they knew who it was, trying to help rather than kind of trying to make money off this situation, I suppose. At 32 minutes past midnight, other emergency services arrive at the scene in the form of ambulances and fire engines. Police arrest several of the paparazzi suspecting that they caused the crash. The emergency services must use a chainsaw to remove Diana from the car. Once she has been cut out of the vehicle, they attempt to stabilize her condition at the crash site.
At 1:15 a.m, Dodi Fayed and Henri Paul are announced to have died at the scene. At 1:25 a.m, Diana is finally put into an ambulance and taken to Le Petit Salpêtrière Hospital. The fact that it took the crew nearly an hour to decide to take Diana to the hospital has been heavily criticised by many. However, French medical protocol adopts the stay and play method. This involves treating the patient at the scene rather than prioritising the transport to the hospital.
Stay and play.
This
is
is
a discount on golf.
Pitch and putt.
Yeah, like if you buy 2 rounds, you get the third free. Stay and play.
Kind of.
Rather than stay in the ambulance while we decide if you're going to die or not. Well, we try and save your life, obviously. We stay and play.
This is a direct antithesis to the scoop and run system. Many theorise that if the ambulance crew used the scoop and run method, Diana may still be alive today. We'll get into the kind of conspiracies and thoughts behind that as well.
1:55 a.m, the ambulance that Diana is in comes to a halt for approximately 5 minutes as Diana slips into cardiac arrest. The crew inject adrenaline into her system. At approximately 2 a.m, Diana arrives at the hospital roughly 1 hour and 40 minutes after the initial crash, despite the hospital only being 4 miles away. An hour and 40 minutes. Yeah. When she arrives, she goes into surgery immediately.
4 a.m, despite the hospital's best efforts, Diana is pronounced dead. She died due to the injuries she sustained during the car crash and a severe wound to her pulmonary vein. Dr. Bruno Rio explained her chest cavity was urgently opened up, revealing a significant wound to her pulmonary vein. Despite a closure of the wound, external and internal cardiac massage lasting 2 hours, no effective circulation could be re-established.
I mean, a bit more on the injuries as well, because they were significant injuries. So she had a severe concussion, broken arm, and numerous cuts to her thigh. But apparently the impact of the crash, they were going so fast and so hard into this particular pillar in the tunnel that caused her heart to move, like literally align itself instead of the left side of the body, more to the right side of the body. So the impact there must have been absolutely devastating. So according to one of the firefighters on the scene, Diana's last words was her asking, "My God, what has happened?" 11 a.m, the Prime Minister at the time, Tony Blair, makes a speech declaring his sadness and shock following the day's news. Blair talked about Diana's humanitarian work, stating that she was a wonderful and a warm human being. Although her own life was often sadly touched by tragedy, she touched the lives of so many others in Britain and throughout the world with joy and with comfort. How many times shall we remember her, and in how many different ways? With the sick, the dying, with children, with the needy. He added that she was the people's princess, and that is how she will stay, how she will remain in our hearts and our memories forever.
On the 1st of September 1997, on this day, it is declared by a judge that the deaths of Diana, Dodi and Henri Paul were solely the fault of Henri Paul. Evidence shows that Paul had 3 times the legal blood alcohol limit within his system. Therefore, his drunkenness killed the trio and not the paparazzi who trailed behind the car. Samples were taken from Paul's blood, hair and spinal cord. These samples revealed that Paul had both Prozac and Tripodil within his system. Prozac is an antidepressant, and according to the drug bank online, Tripodil is a dopamine D2 and D3 receptor. Both drugs can be used to combat the side effects of alcohol withdrawal. It was questioned whether or not he was taking these drugs to deal with chronic alcoholism and, how these drugs would affect him if he was to drive. A minute's silence is held for the lives lost during the accident.
So on the 5th of September 1997, the Queen issued her official statement and addressed this to the nation. The Queen acknowledged the grief that both she and the nation had felt during the week's events. In her speech, she said, "No one who knew Diana will ever forget her. Millions of others who never met her but felt they knew her will remember her. I for one believe that there are lessons to be drawn on from her life and from the extraordinary and moving reaction to her death. I share your determination to cherish her memory."
So if you dissect that, it's not really anything she says there which is actually, you can see is nice. It's like millions of people who never met her but felt they knew her will remember her. No one who knew her will forget her. Like, if that doesn't, not technically, a nice thing. I for one believe there are lessons to be drawn from her life and from the extraordinary moving reaction to her death. Again, it's not particularly saying, and I share in your determination to cherish her memories, your determination to cherish her memory. I mean, as well, to note, this is the 5th of September, so 5 days after the accident, and her putting out a statement as well is quite something. Yeah. I remember hearing about there being a bit of a debacle about, do they fly the flag at half-mast and things like that as well. So it's all kind of a bit how the royals were playing it.
Yeah, it's a very solemn statement. There's not a lot of emotion in there, is there?
No.
The Queen also says thanks to all of those who have paid their respects to Diana.
Cheers.
Talking about the funeral, which was set to be the following day, the Queen noted, "Our thoughts are also with Diana's family and the families of those who died with her. I know that they too have drawn strength from what has happened since the last weekend, as they seek to heal their sorrow and then to face the future without a loved one. I hope that tomorrow we can all, wherever we are, join in expressing our grief at Diana's loss and gratitude for her all too short life. It is a chance to show to the whole world the British nation united in grief and respect. May those who died rest in peace, and may we, each and every one of us, thank God for someone who made many, many people happy."
Sounds a bit more cheery, but also it's kind of like, go on, nation unite, and let's all kind of move on. And
it still just seems a little bit cold.
On the 6th of September 1997, Princess Diana's funeral was held. The streets of London are crowded with mourners. There are no planes in the sky. Those who could not visit in person watch on their televisions.
So for that, just a little comparison, 750 million people watched the wedding on TV, Charles and Diana. 2.5 billion watch the funeral.
That's morbid, isn't it?
Yeah, speaks volumes, doesn't it?
Maybe they knew Elton John was playing. Those
It seems to me you live your life.
I remember when rock was young. Those who were not watching paid respects by placing flowers at her Kensington Palace home. The line of flowers stretched 30 feet, just over 9 metres outside the palace gates. The funeral was watched by 2 billion people globally, like Ben said.
2.5, I said. I've probably rounded up a bit.
Something like you to inflate things. Yeah. It's 4 inches, honestly. Her coffin leaves Kensington Palace just after 9 a.m. On top of her coffin lays flowers and a single envelope which had the word mummy written on it. The coffin is laid on a gun carriage and travelled from the palace to Hyde Park and St James's Park before being taken to Westminster Abbey. This journey took 1 hour, 47 minutes to complete. It's a little bit quicker than the ambulance. Many turned to look at her sons behind her coffin. They walked with Charles, Philip and her brother Spencer. Reflecting on his mother's funeral, Harry told in an interview with Newsweek, "My mother had just died and I had to walk a long way behind her coffin, surrounded by thousands of people watching me while millions more did on television." He then added, "I don't think any child should be asked to do that under any circumstances. I don't think it would happen today." Yeah, it's a very sad sight to see.
Definitely.
Inside Westminster Abbey, celebrities and royalties sat in mourning. Elton John, Tom Cruise, Nicole Kidman, Tom Hanks and Mariah Carey were just a few of the celebrities that attended. Elton John, a close friend of Diana's, also played an edited version of his hit single, Candle in the Wind, which was renamed Goodbye England's Rose. Despite his later tensions with the royal family, Henri Fayed also paid his respects. Diana was laid to rest away from the public eye. She was buried at her family's home in Althorpe, Northamptonshire, on her own private island on a lake at the property. Only a small group of people watched her be buried at the final resting place. A slight controversy was caused when the royal standard was removed. Multiple sources will conflict as to who took the flag off, but ultimately Diana was buried with the Spencer family flag laid over her.
Yeah, which I think she probably would have preferred.
Yeah, I think so. And especially with the theories that would go on afterwards. Elton John apparently, or Sir Elton John, well, he very rarely ever played that song again after that. After the funeral, like Candle in the Wind or Goodbye England's Rose, because he said he didn't want to feel like keeping people in mourning, essentially, which was an interesting take on it.
Which reminds me, that is an interesting fact.
Thank you.
Thank you for sharing.
Does that count then? We don't need to do it.
Well, we could play you, yeah. Tom Norris is Bonzi piped it over, didn't he, the other week?
Oh.
It's good.
Thank you very much.
Jingle.
Ben Carter's Interesting Facts. Interesting facts. Are they? I don't know. Interesting facts. So we're back again with an interesting fact. It's becoming a very popular thing, especially over on our Discord. We've got a Discord now, yeah. You can join our cult on www.icmap.co.uk and come join the cult and become a prestige member. Join the Discord.
Monthly live streams as well, which are a hoot and a half. But welcome back. It's really good to be here. It does feel like a little while since I got a bit facty with you all. So good to be back on the floor. Tonight, we're talking about Beanie Babies.
Oh, okay. Oh, yeah, okay. I know where you go with this.
Yeah. Oh, do you?
Yeah, the Diana Beanie Baby, sure.
Well, it's going to be discussed, yes, but I've also got other Beanie Baby facts.
Okay.
Thank you very much. Throughout all of my research, and probably as well Tom's, because he's referenced it, one thing kept popping up in my recommended searches and subsequent cookies.
The Princess chocolate chip.
I love chocolate chip, yeah, that's my favourite. Don't like triple chocolate, don't really like white chocolate. It has to be just a standard chocolate chip.
Also like oatmeal, don't you?
Don't mind the oatmeal cookies, yeah, but don't like raisins. So eat around the raisins.
Where'd you leave them?
Doesn't matter. It's for you to find out. Throughout all my research on this case, one thing kept coming up you should also search this, the Princess Diana Beanie Baby.
Ooh.
Yeah. So a special edition created to raise money for the Diana Princess of Wales Memorial Fund following her untimely death was created by Ty. T-Y.
T-Y, thank you.
You're welcome. The Beanie Babies manufacturer.
Yeah.
It frequently ranks, now the Diana bear is called Princess, and it frequently ranks amongst the most expensive vintage Beanie Babies on eBay today. Now there are claims online that the 1997 Thai Princess Diana Memorial Beanie Baby is one of the rarest Beanie Babies out there. However, prices for recently sold versions of this Beanie Baby online kind of contradict this. So there's a little Beanie Baby conspiracy all in itself.
It comes on eBay now, fucking hell.
Yeah, they range, don't they? There's a drastic range.
There's one that's 200 grand currently and 180 people are watching it.
Didn't spot that one, but that's great. Oh, that kind of trumps the one I've got.
We get 30,000?
There's currently an original mint condition 1997 Diana Beanie listed on eBay for a price of £42,416 and 2 pence. There's also one listed for 38 grand. There's another one listed for 21 grand. And Tom has just found one for how much?
200 grand, Ben.
200 grand.
Which 275, that's for 3 though. So yeah, 200 grand we'll go for that.
Wow. Okay. However, you can also find them. There are some lower prices, aren't there? Really low.
Yeah, they're obviously not legit, surely.
20 quid.
Yeah.
About 20 quid. So there are two different types of the Princess Diana Beanie Baby. The rarer, earlier batch was made with PVC pellets, whilst most of the princess bears out there are made with polythene pellets. You can identify a PVC princess bear by the tush tag.
Oh.
Yeah.
They're
And the tush, yeah. And the tush tag reads PVC pellets. The most expensive Diana Beanie Bear ever sold, although the one that here is going for a good price.
Well, this one's it's a price on eBay, so it's not sold for that. So
a lot of people watching it. That's a lot of people with 200 grand.
I think people are just watching it going,
See what
what
happens.
mug?
Yeah.
Dan's very quiet now, so I don't know if he's bidding.
I'm literally on it now.
Although it has got free shipping, so.
Okay. Well, the most expensive Diana Beanie Bear or Princess Bear ever sold. Any guesses?
I'm gonna go for 75 grand.
Good guess. Good guess. Dan?
64.
Ooh, okay. $500,000.
That's a good guess.
It was a good guess. Combined, kind of almost halfway.
I'm guessing 75 grand in early 1990s.
Yeah. So expensive. I said I had some more Beanie Baby stuff.
My first
for you.
Beanie Baby was Bernie. And whenever I got Beanie Babies, I always ripped the tag off.
Oh.
And I had Snort, the Red Bull. And I had the big version of it, which is really fluffy.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Are the bigger ones worth more?
No, they're like that. They're like that big. They're just really like furry.
Fair enough. Okay. Well, the most expensive Beanie Baby, although I mentioned the 500,000 princess one, Large Wallace and his squad. Yeah, it's their words.
Very interesting.
So, topping the list for the most expensive Beanie Babies in the world is Large Wallace and his squad. As Tom mentioned, there's some big ones, some small ones. You get 15-inch or you get 9-inch. This Large Wallace is a 15-inch, but it also comes with a collection of two other 9-inch bears.
Large Wallace is packing, eh? 15 inch.
Yeah, this set will set you back $600,000, and you'll get Wallace and two regular-sized Wallaces, Cashew and Huggy.
Good names.
This is the squad.
Cashew bear.
So then I thought, right, okay.
Can I cashew a bear? Oh, I shall dare.
Then I thought, because I didn't know you ever had Beanie Babies. It was I had a cousin that had some, but never got into it myself. So then I thought, right, okay, I've got the most expensive one. Who's got the biggest collection?
Oh, I mean,
crazy, isn't it?
the name's not going to be interesting to anyone, but
No, but the biggest collection is surely.
how big is the biggest collection?
Well, that's what I wanted to find out. But again, it was riddled with controversy, guys.
Oh,
riddled.
goodness.
Yeah, this whole case.
We haven't even got into the interesting bit about this case yet. So I mean,
So there's a guy called Jasmine from Denver, Colorado, who made a YouTube video claiming to have the largest Beanie Baby collection in the world. However, in the video, which I watched earlier this week, he does not specifically give a total number for his collection. He gets them all out, sets them up on his staircase. It looks like a lot.
must be a big staircase.
Big staircase. It goes up and
Is it
around.
medieval? Does it spiral? Because there's an interesting fact about that, isn't there?
Sign up to the Discord, yeah. But he repeatedly, instead of saying a number, he repeatedly says, it's an astronomical number. Astronomical. It's astronomical. He comes across really nice, by the way, so I'm not throwing shade, but he has turned comments off on the video.
Oh, that's always a sign.
Yeah, it's always a sign, isn't it?
True Geordie on Twitter.
However, when he's setting them out, when he's setting his bears out, he does have 4 Diana bears. So could have an expensive collection, maybe not the biggest. So for me, the official ranking goes to Leon Scholzberg and his daughter Sondra. The pair have dedicated their lives to the Beanie Babies. They are currently in talks to open their own museum to set their collection out in.
Do you think the dad forced her into it?
Maybe. The toy-loving duo are believed to have the largest collection of Thai products in the world, and their estimated collection amounts to a certain total number of Thai items, Beanie Baby items. What are you guessing?
3,500.
Not a good guess.
More.
Higher.
25,000.
A little bit lower.
This is boring for everyone.
23,000 items.
That's a lot.
It's a lot of beanies.
Yeah.
Yeah.
There's a lot of beanies.
So there's quite a few things there. Diana Bear, guy on YouTube, expensive ones.
Yeah, loads in that.
Sets.
I'm sure everyone at home really enjoyed it.
Cool.
Anyway, back to the
timeline?
case, to some interesting facts about the case instead.
So the aftermath. In 1999, the crash was declared an accident by French authorities. There was an 18-month inquest which stated that Henri Paul's erratic driving, combined with drink and drugs, caused the deaths of 3 of the 4 passengers within the car.
Mohammed Al Fayed pushed authorities to look into all aspects of the crash. He did not believe that this could have been a simple accident. Authorities continued to deny his request into 2003 when a letter was made public by Paul Burrell. So this is the Diana's former butler. This is the letter that Dan expertly read earlier.
Beautiful voice.
But such a nice voice. I always thought he was going to be really old, and I saw him and I was like, he's a young man.
A beautiful voice to match the beautiful heart.
And the face.
And I was going to say that.
No,
face.
you weren't.
I was going to say that first, but then I thought heart's going to get in better.
Yeah, it got me.
See,
you were going to say it. If I know,
it genuinely entered my mind.
I know you.
That goes without saying. People don't know about his heart.
They think he's got an ugly heart. So it's been alleged that Diana wrote this letter to her butler, saying about the plan. Her husband was planning this accident in the car, the brake failure, and serious head injury. And the other thing to note here is, as I said earlier, the letter and other letters, she predicted other things that were going to happen. So a lot of people were like, "Oh my god, she's predicting her own death," and it's bob on.
Mm-hmm.
It wasn't brake failure anyway, so that's not correct. She also said that planning this accident was to clear the way for him to marry Tiggy, the one we mentioned earlier. Camilla is nothing but a decoy. Apparently, Tiggy Leggy Burke was a nanny of William and Harry, and the allegations were made by the BBC that suggested she and Charles were engaging in an affair. The claims later on would say that Tiggy had an abortion as she became pregnant with Charles' child. Although that letter, when I first heard it, I was like, whoa, that's weird that she's predicting that. She does go on to say lots of different things and predictions which don't happen or aren't linked to it.
Yeah, and with her saying Camilla is nothing but a decoy, it's mainly around Camilla like to leave through the front of the hotel and Tiggy out the back.
Tiggy out the back.
Because of the decoy, like the
cars. Oh, sorry.
Not thinking about. In 2022, the BBC were forced to pay Tiggy an undisclosed sum after acknowledging that the comments caused her irrefutable harm. It is thought that they were fueled during Diana's interview with Martin Bashir. When asked about the note, Diana's former husband commented that he did not know of the note's existence until he saw it in the media. However, this was enough evidence for an inquest to be held. Operation Paget was conducted between 2004 and 2008. This was an extensive search into 175 theories surrounding the death of the princess and her lover.
And we're going to go into them now.
Yeah, buckle up, or not buckle up.
Yes, buckle up.
One of them is. The inquiry itself was 832 pages long. Despite Mohammed's persistence that the judge, Lord Stevens, ultimately found that there was no conspiracy, he stated, "Our conclusion is that, on all the evidence available at this time, there was no conspiracy to murder any of the occupants of the car. This was a tragic accident, there was no conspiracy, and there was no cover-up."
However, this has not stopped conspiracies from being broadcast. Operation Paget did reveal some interesting information, such as the driver of the vehicle, Henri Paul, being an informant for the French Secret Services. Henri Paul finished his shift at 7 p.m, but returned to work 3 hours later. The hours that he was off duty was unaccounted for. Plus, Henri had numerous cash deposits made to his bank account in the year and a half before his death. He was paid a total of £170,000, and this was not consistent with his £35,000 salary. In addition to this, as we mentioned before, he was told numerous times it's not his job to drive the couple around, and he had been drinking, with reports claiming that he did 4 whiskey shots at the bar. Now that's been widely disputed.
Yeah.
That has, in terms of, there's been other evidence that suggests he's only had 2 drinks and he would be a quarter of what everyone claimed he would be. Interestingly enough, one of the senior people doing the investigation went to his family and said they won't find that he's been drinking in the report, but that's been suggested that he was meant to say, I'm not going to say he was drunk as a pig, but he was, so it's been like, why did he go and say that to the family?
Because that drunk as a pig term was used in a lot of the headlines as well when they were initially pointing the finger at it being a drunk driving.
Yeah. When they searched Henri Paul's house, first time they searched it, it was fairly empty. For this, considering this, like, he was an alcoholic and he would always need drink. And then the second time they searched it, it was full of alcohol. Apparently, it's loads of
4
bottles.
mini bars.
That's just a big bar. Apparently, it was laughable how different the house was afterwards. And this is after his death, of course. So that's very curious within itself. People have questioned whether the paparazzi seen at the scene were actually MI6 officers. Henri Paul was seen waving to them multiple times at the hotel before the eventual crash. Conspiracy theory suggests that the testing that found Henri Paul had been drinking was swapped with the blood samples of a suicide victim in an attempt to frame him. However, DNA testing was also conducted on his parents, which matched the profile of Henri. This rules out the samples were swapped, plus he wasn't even supposed to work the night of the incident, nor could he have premeditated it as the couple's plans changed that night. I mean, with that, if they're swapping out the blood samples, they can easily fuck around with it to match the DNA. Depends, but yeah, obviously there's so many different ways you believe in it. Originally, Mohammed was saying to Dodi, you should stay in the hotel. Don't worry about it. Just stay there, let paparazzi around, stay for the night, and then do your plans tomorrow. But Dodi was kind of adamant he wanted to go somewhere else. So then Henri, who had finished work, came back to then carry on his duty, which, as I said, it wasn't his job to drive, but like with all of this, it depends what you want to believe.
And for people to say that maybe he was involved in planning this, or involved in inviting the paparazzi along, or as they framed it, encouraging undercover MI6 agents to follow them. If he knew that the outcome was a significant crash or the death of Diana, there's no way he would have been opting to drive that car, surely, if he was in on it.
Yeah.
Knowing that his life could be at stake.
Yeah, that's very true.
So although it has been repeatedly denied by MI6 that they were involved in the murder of Diana and Dodi, people continue to speculate that they may have had a significant role in the deaths. It is thought that MI6 may have framed Henri Paul. This theory is fueled after an SAS officer came forward with information that he had been part of a team that helped to kill Diana. Moreover, Richard Tomlinson, an ex-British spy, provided evidence during the inquest of Operation Paget. He claimed that Diana's crash was a replica of the one planned for Slobodan Milosevic, a former Serbian president.
Tomlinson talked about a plan which involved a flash of bright light which would severely impair the eyesight of the driver, causing the car to crash. Francois Vistra reported seeing a flash of the light before the crash occurred, but we must take his account with the level of scepticism, as he has been known to lie before and has a criminal past for doing so. The theory suggested that the white Fiat Uno, thought to be the one in the tunnel at the time of the accident, contained the MI6 agent. This agent was able to shine a light into Henri Paul's eyes. Many have noted that the lights could have come from the flashes of paparazzi cameras. It is important to highlight that the former head of this secret intelligence service was always vehemently denied any involvement in the crash that night. To unpack some of this, Sir Richard Dearlove, who is the man in charge of the British Secret Service, said famously around this time that the British Secret Service had committed no murders in the last 50 years, which has been proven drastically wrong. And as well, I mean, the fact that that is a used technique or a plan for assassination, I mean, what's the perfect way to describe flashing lights? Paparazzi, like being around the car. It's a perfect foil for that.
Yeah.
But then it's like, we'll go into deeper, like, why would the MI6 be looking to kill Diana?
To add further credibility to this theory, Squidgygate helped to prove that Diana was being bugged by intelligence services. Diana theorised that the calls had been leaked by these services to show that she was not the vision of perfection that many thought she was. To side with her, Ken Wharf, her former Scotland Yard security guard, commented that her calls were often bugged. Many, including Mohammed Al-Fayed, do not think that a radio enthusiast could have had the intelligence to stumble across these calls.
So it's been proved that the MI6 and the CIA were bugging Diana's calls. That's been proven, and a lot of the phone calls have been redacted, so you can't actually see exactly what's been said. But the question there is, why?
Yeah.
Why is America getting involved with bugging the calls? It's very odd.
Some believe the royal family were the reason for the accident, and the main person behind this theory is Mohammed Al-Fayed. Mohammed claims that Diana was pregnant at the time of her death, and that she and Dodi were looking at the prospect of marriage. So we mentioned, obviously, Dodi popping into a jeweller a few days before his death, but it's never been proven that he actually purchased any kind of engagement ring. It is important to note that neither of these claims can be completely proven, and close friends of Diana have always denied these rumours. I think one of the quotes was, "I need another marriage like I need a bad rash.
Like I need a hole in the head."
Yeah. Basically, Diana had told her friends that she was very fond and very much in love with Dodi, but she was not looking to get involved in another marriage anytime soon. However, Mohammed speculates that Prince Philip was disgusted by the fact that Diana was engaging in a relationship with Dodi, a Muslim man. Apparently he'd regularly make racist comments about Dodi, and also Diana's previous partner Hasnat, who was also a Muslim man. Mohammed thinks that Prince Philip could not let an Egyptian into his family, and moreover, he could not allow Dodi to be a potential stepfather to the future King of England. As a result, they both had to die.
What are your thoughts then on that particular theory?
I'm thinking if you wanted someone killed for that reason, there are surely more straightforward ways to do it than a car crash.
Yeah.
A supposed car crash. There were a lot of reasons why the royal family would benefit from Diana dying.
Thing is, like, one of the things people say, like, so she couldn't get to talk more, but she pretty much said everything she was going to say in her book, in Panorama
interview. Yeah.
What else was she going to?
Yeah. So basically, Diana still being in the picture complicated the prospect of Charles remarrying. So that was an issue. I think she'd become very outspoken. We'll talk more about, obviously, the charity work that she did that may have irked certain nations. But I was thinking, if I'm a very, very powerful member of the royal family and I wanted someone quite closely linked with the royal family killed, an accidental death would probably be a smart way to do it.
Yeah.
Rather than hitman, poison in the spaghetti type thing.
Yeah. No.
Yeah, because that'd be traceable.
Yeah, I'm not overly swayed by the royal family being the perpetrators personally. So Mohammed, Dodi's father's theory suggests that the British ambassador to France, the Queen's private secretary, and Henri Paul were all in the plan together. He plants the blame on Jean-Paul Anderson, a photographer who is quite a well-known paparazzi, as he suggests that he's the one that orchestrated the incident, but there's no concrete evidence to support this claim. James had claimed that he took explosive pictures of the car crash. In addition to this, he owned a white Fiat Uno, so that's the make of car that has been reported that a part of the car was found on the floor in front of the crash. That's where it's speculated that it crashed into the back of that and then swerved off into the 13th column. However, tests conducted on the car found that the dust found in the car wreckage did not come from James's car and was able to prove that he was not near the area during the night of the crash. But he has been on record saying he was. He has been on record saying he got photos as well. This is the bit that makes you go, Jean-Paul would go on to die in the May of 2000 after an apparent suicide. He was found in a burnt-out car, but it was said that one person had seen that there was 2 bullet holes in the side of his head. The car caught alight, and it was said there was a 2-inch hole found on the side of his head as a result of the heat of the fire. I've heard different accounts of this as well, about there being 2 bullet holes in his head and his body. So obviously if you shoot yourself in the head twice, it's going to be pretty hard to do. And
holes forming in the head as a result of the heat.
Yeah.
That's quite... I would assume that the whole head would kind of warp away from the heat. I know that's a horrible word to use.
It is a horrible word.
But specific holes, surely there'd be more of the skin and flesh intact. No, less of it intact, rather than just holes to have been formed.
In the skull.
Yeah.
My thing for that is, if you're going to kill yourself, I highly doubt you're going to set yourself alight in the car. Mm-hmm. And if it's true what the person said, they've seen 2 bullet holes in his head, obviously it's not suicide. I believe, even if they're saying about the dust evidence, there's things contradicting that as well out there. But because the paparazzi said bright flash, obviously with his camera, easy to do. He was in the car in front of Diana, and he flashed into the car. Then it veered off into the pillar. He later on was then murdered in order to keep the story quiet. As to why he did it, I'll get into that a little bit later.
A couple of other bits that we haven't even touched on yet are, number 1, Diana didn't have a seatbelt fastened at the time of the impact or at any time within that vehicle, because the seatbelt in which she was sat in was broken.
It was jammed. Is odd.
So Dodi and Henri obviously died immediately. Initially, before it took so long to get her to hospital, initially she was responding and kind of aware of what was going on. But you'd have to think if her seatbelt was fastened, it would have surely given her a much higher chance of survival.
It's been speculated that, that was a big part of it. I mean, and the other thing that we haven't really mentioned was the accident area was actually swept up not long after the crash and before the investigation happened, which, I mean... that is baffling within itself.
The royal family also ordered her corpse to be embalmed within like 12 hours of her passing.
Which they claim is royals conduct things apparently, but that's odd in itself. Princess Di being left in the car for 37 minutes. If they're doing their stop and play, or whatever the weird phrase was, that can kind of answer that a little bit. But the long route, an hour and 43 minutes to a hospital so close by, is bizarre. The ambulance apparently didn't contact the hospital whilst en route to it, and the ambulance team that were part of the team were never logged who that was. Mm-hmm. So they never went on to give an account of why or explain those things, which are all very, very peculiar.
Yeah, and if you're a member of the responding emergency services, although every life is a life, surely if you've got one of the most famous women in the world under your care, you're even more urgent, you would expect. So there's loads of fingers that can be pointed.
The other thing to mention about Jean-Paul, who was found in the car, it's speculated as well that if he did have some pictures from under the tunnel, they could be pictures that point at exactly what happened as well. So perhaps he was killed for that reason as well.
Other people have pointed out that Diana could have been treated at another hospital, which they actually passed by on the journey to get to the hospital that she actually ended up in. And again, people have said that potentially the ambulance crew were ordered to drive slowly rather than actually treating her on site, which is,
Some have even claimed that the relationship between Dodi and Diana was faked. It was reported that in 2021, an employee who used to work for both Dodi and Diana claimed their relationship was a forgery. This worker said that Dodi called Diana mum in private, and they even slept in separate rooms. The worker called the relationship a big fake pretense. They then went on to say that as soon as she goes outside to wave to the paps, she's bending over and kissing him and hugging him, despite the lack of affection in private. I mean, my mum would probably believe that, in the sense of being like Diana playing the press and maybe wanting to piss off the royals.
Yeah.
It wouldn't be out of the question to think that perhaps, but then with the CCTV footage we've seen, it does seem very loving, and it's a bit of a odd one. But then again, why would it for fame? But why that person go lying about it? But yes, it is odd.
A few have theorized that the Illuminati may have murdered Diana. Diana was a powerful person and they could not have her stop their plans for world domination. Although there were lots of people who did not like Diana for her plans to stop landmines or her connection with Dodi Fayed, it is hard to believe that the Illuminati were the ones who orchestrated this attack. More on the landmines. So I know it was Bill Clinton who had a very keen eye on the kind of the philanthropy of Diana. It was alleged that the part of the reason why America and CIA had bugged some of Diana's
it's
devices.
The thing that makes the most sense. Her getting involved with that campaign, obviously the arms deals and, you know, mysterious going-ons with selling weapons to people. Her getting involved in that would be lose a lot of money to a lot of people.
Yeah.
And it's my theory that that's why her phone was being bugged.
Oh, I agree.
And you could think MI6 and the Secret Service in America, they wouldn't have to go through the royal family to do anything because the royal family, they don't have to sign off on anything in that sense.
Someone's theory who I never thought I'd ever agree with on any subject, Piers Morgan. He's in one of the documentaries.
He doesn't really give a theory. He just kind of...
He points more to the people with the most to gain from her being murdered. I remember watching it and thinking, Jesus Christ, I think I agree with Piers Morgan.
Yeah, I think that was before he was...
Yeah, he's very young looking in that,
in
that video.
He kind of skirted around the points, but he was a bit, I thought. But yeah, I think the reason was it was shady people want to make money. MI6 and the Secret Service worked together. They got this paparazzi to take the photos and do the flashes in the tunnel. As mentioned with the MI6, having a plan to kill another leader with that way before... Yes, I think that's the big red flag here. It's not Diana's letter, it's the fact that that's been planned before. Mm-hmm. I just think that makes the most sense. I don't think the royal family signed off on the hit. I think the MI6 and the Secret Service were like, we need to get rid of her and get rid of this campaign. Like what's happened, a lot of people didn't ask questions, did they, straight away? They're like,
that's true.
So yeah, I think that's where I've ended up. I don't think it's the royals.
See, I could see it being the royals for kind of the same, similar reasons there. But I think it's definitely the phone bugging, America being involved is definitely, I can understand your thought process there. But I think there's so much to do with the circumstances, the scene being cleaned so quickly, emergency response being advised or potentially advised to go slowly.
Henri Paul working for the French Secret Services, apparently.
Yeah.
Payments to his account, which are odd.
Faulty seatbelt.
Yeah.
Doing a 70 and a 30 and the paparazzi being aware of the decoy. There's so much to it, but this is like where everything, apart from the Illuminati one, everything is kind of believable in this case.
I don't think the royal family had enough to lose from Diana being around, and I don't think just the fact that racism.
I do.
I don't.
Things have changed now, obviously, with Harry and Meghan Markle, so that kind of disproves it, I suppose.
Not really. I just don't think that's enough reason for them to plan to kill someone.
I don't know.
And there was not enough proof that Dodi, they'd only been together for a very short period of time.
Yeah, that's true.
And why didn't they act before when she was her previous partner?
Yeah, that's true. I don't think they're squeaky clean of this. I just don't. But I do the flashing light theory. So the highly suspicious suicide of that John Paul. I don't know. I don't think this will ever be solved in terms of if it was a murder rather than an accidental death. Dan, what are you thinking?
It's very complicated, isn't it?
It is.
But I have to kind of side with Tom in the sense that this if it wasn't an accident, it's very well orchestrated, and who has got the power to do that really? And I don't think the royal family do, although they're very powerful and influential. I don't think they've got the power to orchestrate something like that so well.
If there was any evidence of them planning it as well, I just think, yeah.
It's true.
There's no way they could keep that in there. But I kind of agree with you, Ben. It's not all, they're not squeaky clean necessarily, but
there's like threatening letters from Philip that have been redacted to Diana, things like that, which
other letters from Diana to a close friend that have been burnt.
So things like that, which that could just, it's one of those where I think none of us believe it was an accident.
Yeah, I think it's a murder.
Yeah, so I think that's one thing that, with this kind of case, I think one of us at least would be like, oh no, it's just that. Yeah. And I definitely going into the case was just like, it's just an accident.
Yeah. For years, that's what I've always believed. I think, checking with both my parents, they both still believe, they think it was obviously very, very sad. They both felt like it was just a car crash. and they didn't really consider the other options. But yeah, there's so much to this that I found fascinating. And for everyone on audio, every episode we have a video version as well over on YouTube. Let us know in the comment section below what your theory is, because I'd be fascinated to see.
I'll also pop a question up on the Spotify as well for this.
Oh yeah,
you can do that now. Put a little question about what do you guys believe happened.
Yeah, it'd be bloody good if you could do a poll.
You can do a poll.
Oh, bloody hell.
Yeah.
Technology.
And that was the time for a bit of a light relief. After that, there's quite a lot, quite a lot of heavy details there. But I hope you guys found it interesting as we did doing the research. It's time for the lookalikes, Ben.
It is indeed.
I've gone for a very different vibe to this one, but
I like that. I think.
What does it look like? That looks a bit like that.
Yeah, it looks a bit like it.
Do you want to go first? Do you want me to go first?
To be honest with you, I've only really got a couple.
you go first.
Sure. For a young Prince Charles, I've gone Alan Partridge. I've got two versions. I've got the
so it's beardy Charles you're showing me.
That is a beardy Charles, yeah.
Monkey,
I think the other one I've got is better though. Hang on.
Okay.
Well, this is probably the one I'll go for. The hair.
Yeah, no, that's
the nose.
That's a solid, yeah.
And then
I thought you said a couple.
Partridge is one.
Yeah, okay.
And then just kind of sticking with the Charles, because Charles in a beard and the plaid cap. I just thought, what else? Who else is he giving me vibes of? And I just thought he could also be a mixture of the two guys from Inbetweeners. James Buckley. I don't even know their names.
James Buckley.
Just because he's got a hat on, really, it's probably going to annoy you. This one mainly though. Could play a young Charles. Beardy Charles. Probably just stick with Partridge.
So it's the tall guy from Inbetweeners for anyone listening.
Neil,
yeah. Okay, yeah.
Partridge is probably my main one. And then I just thought, I haven't seen it, but The Crown, the woman that plays Diana, me and Dan were talking about her earlier, does a great job. Usually point the fingers at casting gone wrong, but that is casting done right. So cheers. So cheers.
Oh.
Cheers.
I've gone for one picture of Dodi and Diana.
Okay. Dennis Wise.
Turn it a bit more, Tom.
And Jill Dando.
Bloody hell. I knew that was Dennis Wise. I'd never seen that photo. Very good.
So yeah, Dennis Wise, Jill Dando. I think my two for that.
Very good. Literally looks like, when you do that quickly, it just looks like they've looked at the camera. That's
what?
Good. Yeah, I think you win that one.
I like the Partridge one. But there you go. Yes, as we said, it was a very, very deep case. So it's probably, It's probably a divisive case. I'm sure.
We're going to get some accident in the comments, isn't it?
There's a lot of fans of Diana out there, and I've not been overly on her team.
You don't have to be.
Obviously not saying she deserved what happened. Obviously not. But just saying that she's probably not as innocent as people like to think.
And I think she's innocent as anything. So we've got balance.
Do you?
Pretty much.
What were you saying during the episode? You were literally like, I'm starting to see what you mean.
I did start to see what you mean, but now I'm just
playing to the audience. Okay.
Yeah, playing to the camera. Lovely. Thank you as always for the many, many applications we get to join the cult of ICMAP. We really appreciate it. We've still got hundreds to get through, so please don't worry if you haven't been read out yet, because we're wading through them.
And also, it doesn't have to be an application. It can just be a spooky story, maybe a question as well. We've got our first video application that we're going to be playing today, and they're more than welcome. Audio applications as well are always good, always fun.
The cult of ICMAP.
So, yeah, I've got a couple for you today, boys.
Nice.
Couple of cheeky applications.
Okay.
This first one is from Anna Payne.
Anna Payne.
Hi, Anna.
No pain, no gain.
She's just attached a small note. First of all, she says, "Hey guys, love the show. Attached is my application. On a personal note, last year sucked incredibly hard. I lost my 2 remaining grandparents in the span of 4 months. My husband and I found out we were being non-renewed at our jobs, and I found out I had developed an allergy to bananas."
All of that is sad.
So the show was a wonderful break from all that. I felt like I was listening to friends tell me a story, so thanks a million. That's very nice. And this is a video application, and here it comes.
Hey guys, my name's Anna, and I'm applying for the Cult of ICMAP as a member of the communications team. So I'm currently an English professor at a university. I think that those skills translate really well to the communications department, I guess.
That makes sense.
that you may or may not have, but probably should. Any inevitable legal documents, I can sort of work with whatever lawyers volunteered or has joined the cult, and we can sort of double check that. I also have a lot of access to impressionable 18 and 19-year-olds, so if you're wanting to grow the numbers, I can probably help you out with that. I have two little boys. I've got a 5 and 7-year-old boy. That's water coming down from the ground.
It's got a leak.
I have 5 and 7-year-old boys. So I can probably help mediate whatever squabbles Ben and Tom have, just so no one has hurt feelings. And I help my 7-year-old practice reading. He's a good reader, but we practice being a stronger reader. So I think I could probably help Ben out. His reading right now is so done.
I was nodding because I thought it was going to be both of us. But...
You know, we could practice the word 3, for instance. I think we could probably make him feel a little bit more confident. So let me know. I think the vibe of the cult is just top tier. So I would love to be accepted.
I mean,
yep.
Yeah.
Anna, you're in.
It is quite
even give my opinion.
Dramatic with the raindrop because it looks like it is. It looks like she's crying.
Fantastic.
But yeah, that's a big yes. We need communications, don't we, Ben?
Yeah. Communicated very clearly. It's a yes from all 3 of us.
Yeah, there he is. You have been practicing that.
I've been practicing shitloads.
But then there's one more, though, isn't it?
And one more.
Lovely stuff.
From Megan Catlin, and her application is as follows. Hello to you 3 beautiful men.
Thank you.
Oh.
My name is Meg. I'm 22 years old and wish to apply for the role of resident artist. I like to paint images of myself naked to make myself feel better about not looking like a model.
Oh.
We can chuck some images up now.
Can we?
I feel, though, this would be an important role within the cult to boost morale between series. Do you agree with that? You're on the spot there.
So are we painting each other naked or ourselves naked?
I think she's painting us naked, maybe.
To boost our morale.
Yeah. Make us feel good.
Yeah, I want to hear more.
Now.
Okay.
Why don't they just sign up to the Patreon, I hear you ask? Well, because we haven't bloody got Patreon anymore, then. Have we?
Sorry. No, we haven't. We've got icmap.co.uk. It's cheaper, cleaner, easier.
Well, this is a good point, rendering my art useless. However, I have a proposition for another role I would be well suited for, as I will not leave this cult without a fight. As a carer from my nan, I'm used to quite a bit of arse wiping and sick...
That wasn't a... It's your type. That's more your type.
Who? The nan, yeah.
I'm used to a bit of arse wiping and sick clearing on occasion. In fact, only today I took her to see Anton Deck film a quiz show, as this is something she's always wanted to do.
Oh,
nice.
Which is very nice. However, halfway through, she was sick everywhere.
Oh,
Nana.
And we were escorted off the premises.
Oh.
Anton Deck's telling that takeaway all over her blouse.
In brackets, this story may seem irrelevant, but I just want to cover the possible interview question of, give me an example of a time when you had to unexpectedly clear up vomit. Good example. While this may not seem necessary for this particular cult, I would like to... Oh, it's just her naked breast has just appeared on the screen. While this may not seem necessary for this particular cult, I would like to draw your attention to the small percentage of elderly viewers you have. I have what it takes to take care of these born in the early 50s. Okay. I hope you do consider my applications, as I don't expect to have much competition for the arse wiping role, so I may assume that I've been successful. Thank you, boys. Have a good one. Meg.
Lovely stuff. Ben, are you going to give up your role and then...
My arse wiper role?
No, the art.
Oh, my art. Sorry. So busy. No, Meg, that's a yes from me. And bless you, Nana. I'm so sorry they kicked you out from Anton Deck.
Yeah.
And the art is amazing.
I'm sure Anton Deck wasn't their fault.
No.
Hopefully not.
Oh, what's that?
Yeah, probably might happen. Yeah, obviously, yes. That's sure. There's gonna be a lot of muck in this here cult of ours.
Yes.
So yeah, that is the case of the Princess Diana, the People's Princess, or the conspiracy, or whatever we're going to call it. We don't know quite yet. Thank you guys for your patience for the first fill-in last week. We're back on track now. We have 2 more cases to go.
Yeah, and we're in the unique situation of being able to say what the next case is.
Yes, Ben.
The audience vote. The murder of James Bolger. So it's going to be a very upsetting one, but one that we're going to crack on with the research for now. And then we have the series finale.
Yes, which we swapped out Diana for.
We did.
Ben was like, Tom, can you pick one? It took me a while.
Picked a belter.
Yeah, I had to look at it from all different angles and I picked one.
Ooh.
But yes, thank you for all your support. Don't forget, if you do watch us on YouTube, please drop a subscribe, drop a notification bell, leave us a comment. We'd love to hear what you guys think. And if you listen to us on an audio platform, why not leave us a rating or review?
5 stars would be amazing.
That'd be great.
So kind. And if you just can't wait until next week, we have got 105 episodes over on icmap.co.uk, and the one that you guys saw last week or listened to last week, if you are doing it chronologically, is one of those very examples.
Yes, and they're not always minisodes. Sometimes Ben puts big cases in the polls, and then we cover big cases on there. So
I do that. I do.
Oh, I'm bloody gonna do it.
Oh, come and get me.
No, seriously, it's fine. Anyway, we'll be back out next week with a new case. Thank you for your support once again, and like we always say,
we say this all the time.
Keep doing what you do.
Well, unless it's called Operation Squidgy.
Yeah. Or Pagnant, not very catchy.
Pageant.
Dutch. Let's go Dutch.
Yeah, well, go Dutch if you're with people you care about.
Yeah, but don't bring that friend who always orders like a load of cocktails and you're just having a normal pint.
Yeah.
Oh, and he's like, should we do sides and a dessert? No, mate, we're just getting the main. He still orders it.
Yeah. Don't put bloody Sharpie on your laptop. No, that's awful. I'm sure there are plenty. Don't tell someone you love them if you don't want to know what love is. Whatever love is.
All right, maybe we should talk about this afterwards.
That's just from Charles, not me.
We'll talk about it
Charles.
afterwards. Oh, no, it's all right, mate. It's all right. Safe space. Anyway.
See you next week.
Do the very best. You're going to be all right.
Sorry, Tom's sucking on a fuzzy.
What?
A fuzzy, hazy, pale, peachy.
It's called cloud water.
Which is misleading.
It's just rain.
Yeah.
Oh, like bloody the stepmom.
Yeah. So yes,
just down the stairs. Down the